All right.
No.
Hello. Welcome this evening, everyone. I am Alqamar, one of the events coordinators here at Everlasting Life. Me and my brother Ali hooked up to do this very important, very serious discussion tonight on are we black people? So we thought this discussion was going to be helpful for the larger community who don't have a clue as to what we are talking about. So we definitely plan to live stream this. We're asking that you please do not jump on your live streams for this discussion tonight. We will have DVDs available after this, and you will be able to also see it again on live after this, after tonight. But there are paid people who's online is paid to watch this. So just out of fairness to them, we ask that you do not live it to the general public. Just some important house rules. So, I'm sure Tarik Bey needs no introduction. So, oh, 5 minutes? Okay. Okay, well, I'll just still go over the house rules. Should I or should I wait?
No, you can go over that.
Okay. Okay. So he will, now I know that some of you guys in the room are not comfortable with the term debating, but I am. I don't think there's anything wrong with debating. I think that's how laws are made in a civilized society. They debate up on Capitol Hill all day, every day. And, you know, there's debating goes on. That's what, you know, makes the world go round. That's how rules are established, etc. When it's done correctly, when it's done respectfully, in a civilized manner, then the outcome, regardless of the outcome, it could be helpful and beneficial to all involved, those who are debating as well as those who are taking in the information. So my brother, Edward X, is going to be debating Tarik Bey on the subject, are we black people? And of course that he is for the terminology black, and he's going to go over why. And Taj is anti, and he's going to go over why for all of us. So, debate rules. We want respectable commentating only. No stabs at one another aimed at personal degrading. No profane language, including the N-word, is to be used in any form. No interrupting the speaker who has the floor. No going over your allotted time. And just so everybody in the room understands, that's the 1 minute warning. That's time's up, okay? So those are your time mechanisms. Taking it back to Africa. Let's see. No going over the allotted time. Now, the debaters, they have 5 minutes each for introductions. After which, they each have 15 minutes each round for arguments and rebuttals, 3 rounds each, okay? And then after which, they get additional 5 minutes for, what am I trying to say, at the end. Okay, so they get 5 minutes to sum up everything that they have discussed. Audience responsibilities. Please, family, no booing. Again, this is a civilized discussion tonight. No booing, no loud shouting out, interrupting the speakers. Hold your questions until the end of the debate. We have 30 minutes at the end to get your questions and answers in. So definitely write them down. And all we ask is to keep an open mind. I know a lot of you come in with your own favorites or your own way of thinking about tonight, but I just ask that we all just keep an open mind for both participants and what they have to say. After the 5 minute summary, we're going to break for 10 minutes so the candidates just can have a time to come down, and we're going to take 10 minutes. And then we'll come back for the question and answer session, which will be 30 minutes. Okay? So, that is it for me. Brother Ali is going to come up. I know he had some things he wanted to say briefly to you guys, and then we'll get going.
Next day.
Test, test. Test, test, test. Test. One. Oh, that's up there. One. One. Yes. Two.
Please put your phones on mute or vibrate, please. Thank you.
To Islam family. So we're gonna go ahead this intellectual rolling. How's everybody? Glad to see everybody today. So, how many conscious Moors in the house? Yes. Everybody Moors. Everybody Moors. Some just not conscious of it. That's all. But you know, you're gonna see tonight that you are Moor. So, respectfully, Brother X, we let Brother X go ahead and get this thing going. Peace, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, good brother.
We were taught by the wise men and women that preceded us in this world that we should begin everything and end everything in the name of our Creator, in the name of our ancestors. So I stand before you today in the name of our Creator and our ancestors, understanding that if we are anything of value, anything of good, anything of consequence, it is because we stand on the shoulders of those that preceded us in this world's life. And so it is in their name that I greet you in the greeting words of peace. We say it in Arabic, Assalamu alaikum. To the Moors, Islam. To the conscious people who say they are black, black power. To the conscious community, Hotep. I got to try to greet everybody in their own greeting.
Shalom.
Shalom for the Hebrew Israelites. And what's up to the common man? So, are we black? You can go to the next slide. Ideologue. When we are students of truth, we should never be ideologues.
Right.
An ideologue is a person, let me read the exact definition, an adherent of an ideology, especially one who is uncompromising and dogmatic. And a lot of us in our community, we think that's cool. No, that is ignorance.
Yes.
That is ignorance. We should never be an ideologue. We should always be seekers of truth. And we should always challenge our previous held beliefs. That's how you grow. If you're not challenging your previous held beliefs, then you don't grow. And so if you say, I've been thinking like this for 30 years, that's not cool. Next slide. So we want to come from not an ideological basis, but I want to deal with linguistics, history, and law, and allow the chips to fall where they may. See, and I had a conversation and I kind of anticipated the room being filled with fez-wearing Moors, because I'm a Moor too. But I'm also black. And if you know history, there was a time when the Europeans used to call them blacker Moors. Somebody said that's right. Okay. So we're going to deal with linguistics, history, and law. And when I take a position saying we're black, it's not an ideological position. And I anticipated the room being filled with Moors, and somebody asked me, how would I feel? And I said, if you got 1,000 people saying 5 times 5 equals 50, I'm comfortable with it, because I'm standing on 25. So I anticipate learning, but we black. I anticipate at the end the Moors coming to me in secret. I'm black. Next slide. So, my name is Brother Edward. I can read and write 7 languages. I can read and write Hebrew. I can read and write Arabic. I can read and write Aramaic. I can read and write Medunetta. I can read and write Latin. I can read and write Greek. And of course, I can read and write English. So, I'm not before you as a believer in a doctrine. And I don't want to be looked upon as a believer in a doctrine. I'm challenging a point from a perspective that I stand on as being historically accurate, linguistically accurate, and legally accurate. And so, I have 1 minute. I want to say this last thing on this 1 minute about the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Since I'm in the presence of the Moors, and the Moors look at the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey as the forerunner to the prophet, and he was to, like John the Baptist was the Jesus, then let's go look at what the forerunner had to say. The Honorable MOORS-MUURS-MOORISCH God. See, we can't be ideologues and believe that he's of God on this end, but he ain't on God on this end. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, where's the black man's government? Where's his king and his kingdom? Where's his president, his country, his ambassador, his army, his navy, his men of big affairs? I could not find them, and then I declared I will help to make them. So from the Honorable Marcus Garvey, the forerunner, to the prophet, the John the Baptist, according to your own belief, he said he's black.
Islam. Islam, Moses. Islam. Assalamu alaikum. Reminder to the brother, Moors do say assalamu alaikum. Now, the reason why you have Islam, mainly because of the infiltration that took place with COINTELPRO operations and the pedophile J. Edgar Hoover, who set up the FBI, which is an order of Malta belonging to the Jesuits. That must be understood. Other deal, I used to be assistant minister in the Nation of Islam, so I have a whole background in it. Plus, I'm around the circles of many people that you all know. So like I'm sitting here eating with you, Muhammad Ali said across my table eating with my family, holding Hannibal when he was a baby. So I already know by circles that those in power don't think or necessarily hold the positions in public that they hold on the down low. Now let me present to you all two keys, and you're right on with that, brother. Now the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when we call the Lamb, is Elijah Poole Bey as a nationality card, and you will find on your phone when you look up, you'll see him with his fez. They often hide that picture. He was an addict. Now, to be fair, because a lot of people misunderstand the Lamb, but the Lamb was preserving a lot of things that people assume he's taking an opposing position. He didn't take an opposing position. As a matter of fact, the Lamb never called our people black. He always referred to them as so-called blacks and so-called Negroes. And many people forget that. I'm gonna give you two other keys with the actual facts that all brothers and sisters, MGT, and all fruit get. What is a Mason? The answer, a Mason is a Muslim son. He didn't say Muslim son, Muslim son. This was the key to the chambers. And then he also reminded the brothers and sisters, after all the studies that we do, after we go through the actual facts, etc., he said a supreme wisdom will be handed you later. Most of them never got the supreme wisdom because Lamb also had to run for his life. That's another part of the history in the nation that they don't talk about. So a lot of times the Lamb would go to Arizona, you know, because he had respiratory problems, but really many times he's running for his life. You know, so a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people don't talk about that. Are we clear? The Moorish movement was infiltrated. The Nation of Islam is actually the Temple of Allah, which is a part of the Moorish movement. So when we talking about the Moorish movement, the Nation of Islam is the Moorish movement. So let's get that very clear. Now, for those of you who have scholarship, and you'll see some of the personal correspondence of Noble Drali, including when he visited Marcus Garvey when they had him in prison in Atlanta, including some of his postcards to his wife, Pearl. And you'll see that Marcus Garvey, Father Divine, Bishop Johnson, Bishop Cherry, Daddy Grace, all of them had this knowledge and information. This is why you see all of your so-called major black organizations have their root between 1930 and 34. That period is called the Great Sellout. So the deal of it is, I'm honored to have good brother Edward with us today, and I'm glad he's a historian. And understand, we from the Nation of Islam, because that's how I came. You understand? Now, but I grew, you know, and I know that a lot of people they want to see schism. But we don't do schism. Nation of Islam, we don't debate, we deal with knowledge. Moorish Science Temple, we deal with knowledge. With Great Seal, we deal with knowledge. And we share knowledge with you. And with history, etymology is the history of linguistics. And it's used all around the world. And I'm glad the brother introduced you to that rule. So etymon and etymology, that's the history of words, the true meaning of words, and the morphology of words. Are we clear? And ain't nothing wrong with black. Just misplaced.
So, second round, how much time we got?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. I'm gonna try to do a Mike Tyson. You remember back in '89, Mike Tyson come out, 15 minutes was too long. When we deal with linguistics, history, and law on the term black, is it an ideological claim or is it a historical fact? When we look at history, we can't close our eyes and put our fingers in our ears when we are confronted with the truth. So I want to just do a chronological history of some nations where we were in charge. And if we start with Kemet, I want to start with Kemet. And Dr. John Henry Clark said we start with Kemet not because this is where civilization started at. No, but this is where our indestructible monuments still remain. So we want to use Kemet as a starting point. And Kemet, you might know it as Egypt. Egypt, Northeast Africa. Kemet is the original name. Egypt is an English term that came from the Greek term Aegyptus. Yeah. But the original term, the people who lived there never called themselves Egyptians, and they never called their country Egypt. They called themselves Kemetu and called their country Kemet. And in Medunetta means the word of God, and the Greeks called it hieroglyphics. But from the perspective of the people in Kemet, there is no such thing as hieroglyphics because this is a Greek terminology, and we practice coochie chocolate, we practice self-determination. So the people in Kemet, there was no Egypt, there was no Aegyptus. To them, it was Kemet, and Kemet was represented in pictograph by a charred piece of wood that represented the uniliteral K, or Ka. And then the owl represented the uniliteral M. And the loaf of bread represented the uniliteral T, Kemet. And the determinative didn't represent anything, didn't have any sound, phonetic value, but it represented a nation. And Kemet means land of the blacks. And you know, Eurocentric scholarship said, well, you know, yeah, Kemet does mean land of the blacks, but they weren't talking about the people, they were talking about the soil. Okay, we'll let you rest on that for now. But we went and studied Medunetta. Now we can read and write the language. Not only did they use the charred piece of wood to represent their nation, they also used it to represent themselves and called themselves Kemetu. Kemetu as if Kemet means land of the blacks. Kemetu is like, I'm black too. Kemetu. And this is what they called themselves. And so we can't dumb down ourselves because of an ideological claim. Kemet really existed. Linguistically, it means land of the blacks. Kemetu were the people that lived there. Kemetu means black people. You can't dumb yourself down and close your eyes to the facts. This is not an ideological claim. This is a historical fact. Was Kemet a real place? Were the people of Kemet real? Did they have a language? Do we honor their language? Because if we say that whatever our ancestors were, we are without doubt or contradiction, but when it goes against our ideology, we ain't that no more. Kemet is a real place. Kemet means 5,000, 6,000 years ago, it meant land of the blacks. Guess what it means today? Land of the blacks. And this is a linguistic fact. So, are we black people? Did we refer to ourselves as black? Because these names were given to slaveholders. That's not true. That's a religious term. Thousands of years ago, we called ourselves black. Next slide. Commit to the people. Next slide. I can't even see this, but it was dealing with old man Cush from the Moore Science Temple. I went and studied. I studied not only the Circle 7, the Holy Quran, or the Moore Science Temple. I studied the Questionnaire 101. I've been studying the Moore Science Temple for 25 years. So it ain't just a claim that I just reject the ideology. I'm rejecting it based upon the study of history. I'm not an ideologue. And we refer to ourselves as black. I want to read this last. Now, can you see on this presentation? But y'all know what it is. Whatever your forefathers were, you are without doubt or contradiction. If your forefathers were in Kemet, you gonna shut your brain down and say, well, I ain't black. Because of an ideological claim. Next slide.
I can read it.
You don't got to read it. The Moors know. The Moors in this, and right now saying in their mind, he got us on that point. That's only one point. I got 99 more. Ham. Old man Ham. That's what the Moors call him. Old man Ham. You know how the relationship with Cush and old man Ham. I was just studying that last night. I said, well, you can't deny this. Ham means black in Hebrew. Then and now. And I was reading, y'all believe in the Hamites, black people. Yeah, you will shut your, see how you see people be confronted with this truth? Our reason, our logic, our faculty shut down because we experience cognitive dissonance. In Hebrew, there is no such thing as Ham, because Noble Dwelly was raised up by the great God Allah to redeem fallen humanity. Allah don't make no mistakes. In Hebrew, there's no such thing as Ham. It's Cam, just like Kemet, and mean black. Then and now. And you can't say we the descendants of Ham, which is Cam, which means black, and then say I'm not black. Linguistically, I got to keep them linguistics in your face because it's like a child saying, I don't believe 1 + 1 = 2. That means you flunked the class. That don't mean you smart. That don't mean you sharp. That don't mean you right. That means you flunk. That means you fail because you reject the facts. Next slide. Kush means black. We just went over that. Cushy. I ain't talking about good kush and alcohol. I'm talking about the people. Kush. Cushy means black today. In modern Hebrew, they have different forms of Hebrew, and I can read all of them. They have Paleo-Hebrew. They have what is called Biblical Hebrew. And they have what is called Modern Hebrew. In Modern Hebrew, Cush means black right now. Next slide. I'm just going to bombard you with this historical, linguistic, legal blackness. Al-Arab al-Ariba wa al-Arab Mustariba. Al-Arab al-Ariba means the Arab eyes, the original Arabian Arabs. These are the first group. And Al-Arab Mustariba means the Arab eyes Arab. And in history, they say these are the group of people that came after Ishmael. But Ibn Mansur wrote Lisan al-Arab. It is the most authoritative Arabic lexicon in the world. And guess what one else will say? I don't believe in that. And as if that changes the merit, because you don't believe it, or you don't believe it, or I don't believe it. That doesn't change the fact. Lisan al-Arab is the most authoritative classical Arabic lexicon in the world. And Ibn Mansur, he says, notes the opinion that the phrase Aswad al-Jilda, black skin, idiomatically meant Khalis al-Arab, the pure Arabs. And applied to al-Arab al-Ariba because the color of most of the Arabs is Alqamar, dark. So the original Arabs are called Aswad al-Jilda, black skin, in Arabic, classical Arabic. And I know what some of us will say because we experience cognitive dissonance and somebody push you out your boat and now you're beginning to sink and you can't stand up ideologically and you're sinking and you're going down and you're going to shut your mind down to the facts. In Medunetta, we were black. In Hebrew, we were black. In Arabic, we were black. I ain't even got to Greek and Latin yet. I just want to stick with the facts. I ain't coming up here to kind of pluck up. I'm not even up here representing the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That ain't the debate. The debate is, are we black? That's the debate. The debate ain't did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wear no fez. The debate ain't was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad ever a member. I'm not arguing that, even though I can't argue that. The argument is, are we black? And can I give you reference? I can give you so many references that we were black. It's not a belief system. It's not a theory. It's not conjecture. It's historical fact. It's linguistic fact. It's legal facts. Next slide. Oh, Sudan means black. Come from the Arabic is based on a triliteral root. Arabic is based upon a triliteral root, 3 letters. So the triliteral root, Sin, Waw, and Dal, is the root letters for the word Sudan. But Sin, Waw, and Dal means black. This is where the word Aswad come from. With the same triliteral root. This is where Aswad Jilda come from, black skin, the same triliteral root. Sudan, right now, in Arabic, means black. And it was a time when they used to call Ghana, Mali, and Songhai the Western Sudan. They used to call it Bilad al-Sudan, land of the blacks in Arabic. So, we'll try to attack the European language. This is English, and English mean this, and I ain't got to English yet. Y'all spoke Arabic, didn't you? You could say you ain't speak Arabic too? You ain't speak Hebrew either? You ain't speak Medunetta either? Now you're in an intellectual corner. And I got you, I'm gonna keep you in that intellectual corner. Hold you up in the intellectual corner. We were black. I wasn't fearing. I said, how many more is gonna be here? This is a pleasure. You ain't gonna be talking strong with that black piece no more. Next slide. Saudi means black because it got the same triliteral root. Sin, Waw, Dal. Saudi Arabia means black Arabia right now. Y'all making me mad. Saudi means black. Kush means black. Cam means black. Kemet means black. Next slide. Al-Hijr al-Aswad, the black stone. Black. So when you say black, you're going to come with a Eurocentric twist. We practice Coogee chocolate. We practice self-determination. Don't come telling me what the Peckerwood say black mean. I'm not talking about what he talking about. When I say you black, I'm talking about you the first man and woman on the earth. When I say you black, I mean you're powerful. It was Minister Malcolm X said every Negro has the potential to be black. So when I say you black, black according to science means death. Whose science? Whose science you talking about? Because the science I'm talking about, black mean power. That's why the judge wear black. Black mean power. That's why you go to Mecca and bow down and kiss a black rock. So I don't know what you talking about when you say black according to science means death. Where? The universe is black. The God that I believe in is black. See, we can't come under this Eurocentric mentality in the name of liberation and begin to articulate white folk. And what is amazing to me about the Moors Science Temple, well, they will argue you can't be black, but then turn around and say a free white person. Them the Moors. You can be white though. White means purity, and purity means God, and God means rule of the land. That's just Eurocentrism. But black is death. So even we can't promote this type of Eurocentric thinking. The Moors said, damn, Brother Edward kind of know that book. Brother Edward been studying. See, I'm not a person, I've been hearing for 25 years that we're Moors, right? I don't just reject that claim off a religious premise. So I want to know, am I a Moor? This problem said the noble Tarik was raised by the great God Allah to redeem fallen humanity and teach us love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I want to know. I want to know the truth. I'm not here to defend the ideology. I'm coming out strong because I ain't got nothing to defend but the truth.
All right.
I ain't thinking. I'm strong with this. We black. We are black. We're black. That's all I got to say. Next man.
Green means black too. Red too. That means black too. Yeah. Linguistically, scholars do the research dealing in the Urdu, etc., Persic. Arab is not a bloodline or identity. It actually means noble. It's a term of social position, not a people. That's number one. Number two, to keep it elementary, we always try to keep it simple. And for any of you in here that know how to read, the fundamentals, this is fundamental stuff, of dealing with language. You go into a dictionary, and this is this is third grade stuff. Excuse me. Thank you for technical skills and abilities. As an example, you have general 8 parts of speech, then you got your 9 principal, interjection. Now, black's an adjective. It is not a debate that our people have been called black. Now, when the prophets say that black according to science means death, he's not talking etymologically, he's talking sociological. Because the term, which I agree with him, it's a term. It's not a bloodline nor pedigree. Now, everything down, you can make reference. So when you're dealing with black, and you can look in the dictionary, you'll see it's an adjective. An adjective describes and it harmonizes exactly what he's saying. It's a term of description. It's not a bloodline nor pedigree. Are we clear? Yeah. That's what must be understood. The tagging of black has nothing to do with color, because black does not mean dark. It means pale colors. That's what it means. It comes from Old High German down to Middle English, 1100 to 1500. Write it down, go do the research yourself. Basic etymology, which is the history of words. All right? So we're talking long history. Furthermore, the Europeans, i.e. the Germanic tribes, all European tribes are Germanic. They're all German. All right? And they're essentially hybrids. And so when you're talking to Frenchmen, Englishmen, etc., you're still talking to Germans. Are we clear? Europeans didn't call themselves white people to roughly around 1854. You'll find this information with the Naturalization Act, with Ulysses S. Grant. When they modified the Naturalization Act from 1790 to 1870, this is where, when you see in your Black's Law Dictionary, when the Europeans under the Whiggamore Party agreed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to call themselves white people, because it's a legal status having nothing to do with complexion. The whole argument of skin complexion comes with a code system of social controls, has nothing to do with reality, because not one of you in here is black, if you think it means ebony, which it doesn't, and none of you are Paleolith, which is what black means. Are we clear? Clear. Now, any of you doubt it, and we can share this dictionary while we're doing this work up here. Anybody that has any doubts can pass this around and look up black. You see adjective, go in the appendix, and you'll see it comes from Old High German, and it actually means pale colors. Are we clear? So the European is the black man. It has nothing to do with his complexion either. It has to do with Negro, Yabera, Arebo, black chimpanzee, monkey. That's how the word Negro came into the language. When you see Charles Darwin and the other German naturalists talking about the evolution of man from monkey, man didn't evolve from monkey. Monkey was used in experiments in Patagonia. People are familiar with Dr. Moreau's Island, and Dr. Moreau, that's French for Moor, and it's also referred to as Dr. Yacoub. And this is Patagonia, which you now know as Argentina. This is why when Hitler told them to split, frog feet, blow some balloons up, get a log, but party's over, you're leaving here, going home to your mother, to your nation, because they're going to save Germany. It's after the Treaty of Versailles, because Germany could not hold a standing army. And so people were in there using dogma, claiming to be Jews who are not Jews. No J in Hebrew, no J in Aramaic, no J in Arabic, none of the what they will call the Semitic languages, which is a term made up by Germans to describe Moabite, Canaanite, Hittite language family. And that's a modern term too, because there's no such thing as that either. Then when you do the research, you into Europe, you'll see that the Picts, the Moors, and the Dubs are all Moors. Europeans themselves will tell you that. It's not a secret. So one of the most awarded scholars, Joel A. Rogers, he'll even give you European history, and you can go to Europeans themselves and go into European history, and they'll show you Moors in all of their coats of arms. This is no secret whatsoever. Black is a term, not a bloodline or an identity. The problem that people have is that they keep confusing it as an identity, and people who have fallen in love with it have been presenting it as an identity, which it is not. As an example, Spanish, no such thing as Latin, Spanish, it's Moorish Latin, right? And I'm agreeing with him, it was common knowledge amongst Asiatics, or the Arabs, which means the nobles, not a bloodline. So all Asiatic Africans were referred to generally as Arabs, which means the nobles. Are we clear? And it doesn't mean black, it means the nobles. All right? So the nobles were the skilled ones. So you'll see in movies like the Europeans will tell you, like in Wild Wild West with Will Smith, and the guy's walking in this spider, that's symbolic. And they're up in this plane, he says, you look like a handsome black or more. But the black is the pejorative. And you'll go in that same dictionary, and you'll see the adjective is separated from the Moor. The adjective is all even letters, and then the Moor is capitalized, because that's the proper noun. It's no secret. Anybody who can read. When you're dealing, this is one of the reasons why the Kenyan Moor, Barack H. Obama, went to Hikupta, which we call Tamari, also Kemet, is where you get Patah, P-T-A-H, Hikupta, what you call Egypt, Hikupta, and it's not just there, it's also the Grand Canyon, also down to Lower Egypt, which is Kentucky and Tennessee. And we got older pyramids here than we got on that side, and everybody in the world knows it. Now, so when you're dealing with one of your most respected Masonic scholars, Manly P. Hall, who never went through a lodge, they make all the connections. The only ones that don't make the connections is those who are pushing the Spanish Inquisition for European conquest of the world. Are we clear? Now, 1854, Knights of Columbus, Ku Klux Klan oath, 1854, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where they do what they call the Mummers Parade, and then they put the charcoal on their face, they call it black face. However, they're black people. Do you understand? What they would do is take someone else's identity, do things to other people, start wars, and then they would play both sides, and they play it right to the day. It's called false flags. They don't even change it. They do it absolutely today. But for those of you who may be confused, and I'm glad that he's talking about linguistics, because if you're talking history and you're talking law, go right in your law dictionary, and you'll see free white people does not mean Caucasian race. And so when we're calling them white people, we just call them sovereign, because it's a status. It's not the color code system. People need to know the difference between pedigrees, terms, bloodlines, etc. You need to know the difference between adjectives and nouns. Are we clear? Black's an adjective. In any language will tell you that. As a matter of fact, we were just talking on the way up here, right? Where was that? 30th and Walnut. We came in there, you know, because we know what's up. So when we come in there, Minister Farrakhan, soon we came in there, gave him greetings, etc., assalamu alaikum, etc. And he says, negro sabato, Latin. Say, when you're talking black, you're talking things, objects. So negro sabato means black shoe. But when you're talking about humans, you're talking Moors. We're all Moors, Minister Farrakhan. So they all know, it's not a secret. You know, you see Elijah Poole Bay, where it says you'll find it in the phone, etc., you know. But they never give them the science because that's the supreme wisdoms. That's when you go into the culture. So when you go into dogma, you go into symbology. You go into imagery. You know, looking Christian, looking Muslim, looking Buddhist. But the knowledge is not there. Are we clear? The science of the operations of the planet is not there. That's where your problem is. Are we clear? So logistics, write that down. That goes in every science whatsoever. And since we're dealing with communication, the science of language is called etymology. And black has nothing to do with complexion. Period. Are we clear? It has to do sociologically as applied pejoratively as a caste status. Are we clear? So you're not talking skin color. Are we clear? When you're talking white, sociologically, you're not talking skin complexion. Are we clear? Yes. All right, so when you're talking about the human family, you're talking anthropology. And so you're talking about extended families. So you're talking about nations, nationalities coming from nativity, which means to be brought into life, to be born. And every man has a belly button. There's no such thing as woman coming from some man's rib. Every man came from a woman's womb. So get that straight. Right from the door. And there ain't no man on this planet greater than a woman. I don't care how much muscles you have. So all nations are guided by the knowledge of woman, which is why our women have always been under attack. Once they got you, they got us. And this whole game with the black game was to remove you from your history, from your sovereign right to the land, are we clear? Under the Spanish Inquisition. The entire world's modern politics is predicated on the Spanish Inquisition against the Moors. And Spanish was a tag that was put on the Moors to cover up the history. You can ask any Filipino about Philip II, and they'll tell you we're Moros. They started calling them Filipinos in the 1500s. Ain't no such thing as Puerto Ricans. That's Borican. They're Tainos. They're Moors. Are we clear? Ottawa, when you're talking about Haiti, when you're talking about Trinidad, all the islands, they're Carib Moors. They're Moors. They're home. They're Almoroccans. Americans. Distinguished from Europeans who've been imitating you, going around the world doing things in your name, tagging you with brand systems to disconnect you from your land, your inheritance, and this is what the black game is all about. It's a sociological system having nothing to do with complexion. So when Nodrali says black according to science means death, he's talking about heritability. This is why when you see what we presented to you, the Dungy case, to put it in context, like some of you who are younger, right? And yourself says, you know, you hear about grandpa and your great uncle. If you call them black, you had a fight. You need to know why. They wasn't talking about skin color. They were talking about estate. They branded you. The next thing, they were stealing your estate and then lynching you and stealing your land. It's pejorative. It's to remove you from the human family to justify doctrine of discovery and unum sanctum operations, where the European claimed to be God. That's why he took on the white title, because it means sovereign ruler of the land when he talking complexion. Are we clear? So that must be understood. Black's a term, not a bloodline. And you don't mix the two. Are we clear? All right. I don't even need no more minutes for that.
I've been having this conversation with people who are members of the Moorish Science Temple of America for like 25 years. And these conversations are always enlightening for me because I approach life as a student. And so I'm always learning, even if I'm learning ways to crush your argument. When you try to use Eurocentric law to justify not being black, and you try to talk about how black is something negative, you're legitimizing, you're referencing the oppressor. So everything that he does or says is always going to be against you, even if it's Moorish. He's going to come with a spin. And it's amazing. One of the greatest things that you can learn or study is linguistics or language. Because the reason why I'm saying that is because all of the arguments that the Moors use, you could just flip them around and use them right back against them. We're not black. Black is an adjective. Moorish is an adjective. You didn't know that? Moorish scientist?
Oh, yeah.
That's an adjective.
Yes, references.
So we can reference ourselves off of adjectives. You just was using black as an adjective, so you can't reference it, but we can be Moorish scientists. Linguistics is key. When you talk about international law, you're talking about white folk. You're legitimizing white folks. When you talk about 1913, you all men must proclaim their nationality to be recognized, to know that they're not black, Negro, colored people, Ethiopian. Let's look at that. In 1913, Asia, Africa, and Latin America was suffering under European colonialism. So who are you going to be recognized by? The civilized nation, the free nation, them white folk. The League of Nations, them white folks. Because Africa was suffering from colonialism. Latin America was suffering from colonialism. Asia was suffering from colonialism. Who are you trying to be recognized by? Talk about international law. If you call yourself black, black is non-descendable. I've been studying you. Black is non-descendable. You're talking about international law. Who made international law? White folk. When the law is on their side, they enforce it. When it's against them, they break it. International law, they needed the United Nations to invade Iraq. George Bush said, you are either with us or you with the terrorists. International law didn't mean a thing. Since the occupation of the West Bank in 1967, numerous United Nations resolutions, including United Nations Resolution 446, United Nations Resolution 452, United Nations Resolution 465, United Nations Resolution 471, and United Nations Resolution 476 affirm unambiguously that Israel's occupation is illegal, and since Resolution 446 adopted on March 22nd, 1979, the United Nations ruled that the occupation of Israel is illegal. So international law don't mean nothing when it's against white folk. Only time they use it when it's against you, when you write. We write on reparations, that's international law. Why we ain't get no reparations? Because international law don't apply to us. We got to unify and organize ourselves and stop looking for white acceptance. And you know, when you say, well, you call yourself black, that's why we can't receive no freedom. Well, damn, you don't call yourself black. Well, you're 40 acres and a mule. You ain't received no equal justice under the law. You ain't received no preferential treatment. You ain't received nothing different than the ignorant, backward person who don't know his nationality. You suffering the same thing that Mook, Mook, Ray, Ray, and Little Man suffer. You just wear fez. He said there's no J in Arabic. That's not true. Jeen, hence the word Juma, every Friday. Because on Friday, the first man was born in the flesh. Right? Jolly Beer, Jahan, Jeddah. So there is a J in Arabic. I just wanted to make that linguistic correction. Next slide. We can't be black because we're Moors. And Moor is our original title. Moor is our real title. Moor is who we really are as a people. That's what they tell us. The word Moor, that's an English word. English is a bastard language. Moor is not an indigenous African word. It's an English word. It comes from the Latin word mora. It comes from the Greek word moros. Mu, alpha, upsilon, rho, and omicron. Moor is a Greek word that means black. You're not black because you're Moors, but Moor linguistically mean black. Cognitive dissonance. Moor means black right now. See, you can come with a religious ideology arguing linguistical facts. Moor means black right now. When they called us black or Moors, it meant black. And you arguing from a Eurocentric construct because they made everything negative, and so we internalized their perspective, so now black means negative to us. And white means something good. What name does Satan give himself? That would know what you all he asked you. And then right behind that, he said, what does white mean? What name does Satan give himself? What does white mean? White means purity, a ruler of the land. A ruler means, you know how it goes, God. But he giving you science. He couldn't talk like that in 1913. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. He couldn't talk like that. But he gave you science. What name does Satan give himself? And then right behind that, you talk about white, right? And then you're going to say, go to the next slide, because I got this black law. I've been studying this black law dictionary because I knew he was going to come with that. What does white mean according to the black law dictionary? Free white person. Free white person refers to in the Naturalization Act as amended by act. And I thank Allah for you because you helped me with this. I said, he just gave me an extra clip with bullets in it to debate me. As amended by Act July 14, 1870, has meaning naturally given to it when first used in 1 Stat 103 Section C3, meaning all persons belonging to the European races then commonly counted as white, and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have immigrated. It includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with people of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It includes, I don't even know how to pronounce this word, Magyars, Laps and Finns and Basques and Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants. So you can't be black, but you're a white boy, according to the Black Law Dictionary. You can't be black, but you're a white boy. You're a free white boy. That's deep. We're talking about self-hatred on the most major levels coming from the conscious community. You can't be black. You got all types. Legally, you can't be black. But legally, you can't be white. That is deep. That's so deep on a psychological level that we have to question ourselves. See, if you're saying you couldn't be white too, I can kind of go rest with you can't be black. Because black is an adjective that describes a noun. But the yellow man, the Chinese, they call themselves yellow. You think they got a meeting somewhere, man, we ain't yellow. And when yellow according to size mean death. And we couldn't call, they said, well, yellow power. They told me, y'all ain't think, oh, y'all ain't know in the 60s, the brown berets, talking about brown power, rolling with the, oh, y'all was ready for y'all. Y'all talking about these adjectives, all people do that. The white man say they want white power. Huh? The red man say they want red power. That's why he offended by the Washington Redskin thing. Right? Because he said that's racist and it's insulting. The red, the adjective that describes the noun. See, now we know language. You can't hit us with that no more. Show me a country with black land. Kemet. Kemet. Show me a black flag. You know how y'all make mockery of the conscience. Yes, what is that? A roach spray? You can tell I've been around the Moors a long time. I done heard all those arguments. And I thank Allah for the Moor Science Temple, because y'all, Noble Drew Ali was the first one to bring Islam to America for us in our community. So I thank Allah for him in that. But as an intellectual, as a critical thinker, as an analytical thinker, I'm smart enough not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but you ain't great. Get me to drink that bathwater. I can't drink no bathwater. We black people. We've always been black people. Kemet mean black. Kush mean black. Cam mean black. Saudi mean black. Aswad mean black. How many points do we have to go over? We can't be black, colored, Negro, or Ethiopian. We can't be Ethiopian. There's a real nation on earth called Ethiopia. And they have a vote in the United Nations. So the people in Ethiopia aren't Ethiopians? It's cognitive dissonance. Because we uphold the ideology. And you don't want to, because if you say they are Ethiopians, then you got to put down your ideology. You can't have it both ways now. You can't be colored, black, Negro, Ethiopian, but them are Ethiopians. When you go in the store, them Ethiopians, they speak Tigrinya. They from Ethiopia. They speak Amharic, they from Ethiopia. They are Ethiopians. And Ethiopia does not linguistically mean divided. Now, in what language does Ethiopia mean that? Because we do, and we should all agree that Noble Drew Ali wasn't no linguist. In what language do Ethiopia means divided? Water. Where? Because Ethiopia comes from the Greek word Ethiops, which means burnt face. See how cognitive dissonance? I'm going to keep that in your face. I'm going to keep it in your face the next time you come promoting the ideology. When you come promoting the ideology, you got to come with some science and some facts. Not no ideology. It's 2019. Black folk are too smart for religious dogma. It don't work. It don't work. We too smart. We too critical in our analyzation. It's not going to work. I want to go over a couple of more key points. And I hope if we have a question to answer. I want the Moors to ask me the hardest question. Ask me that question you've been wanting to ask for 20 years. I want them hard questions. Don't hold it. Don't pull no punches or anything. And I want you to look up the information. And if the information is against you, don't feel bad. Embrace it. Grow from it. Grow from the truth. We should grow as a community from the truth. We shouldn't run from the truth. We act like roaches when you the black flag. When you spread it, we run from truth. We run from truth to uphold an ideology. The simple fact remains, I want to talk to you personally. How can you deny Kemet being a real place with real people and then say, I'm not black? You can't reconcile those 2 points. You have to say, we were black, or deny that history. And if you deny that history, that says something about you. That says something about you, that you in denial. It was good for 1913. We just come out of slavery in 1865. We ain't know nothing. If you look at the social conditions of our people, we couldn't read and write. The context of our people, we went to church. That's why Noble Drew Ali kept the Sunday school, because we was familiar with that, right? And it familiarized us with something called Islam that we never heard of. And then they talking about fezzes. And he gave us a sense of pride and a sense of culture and a sense of understanding, which is good. I'm not against that. That is great. But when you start talking about the letter of the law, I'm with the spirit of the law. I ain't with the letter of the law. I'm with the letter. Okay, in this last minute, let me say this. Y'all know y'all say that flag 10,000 years old. The green 5-pointed star that represents love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That's not true. The Moorish flag was a red flag. The green 5-pointed star was added in 1914 by the Moroccan government. Peace out.
I'm going to say again, we're not talking skin complexion. When you're talking Ethiopians, you talk to Ethiopians, not talk to people around the world. Europeans use the term, they use Habasha and also Abyssinia. They're simply talking about the dividing of the land between Ham and Cush. That's where the term Ethiopia has. We're not talking about etymological meaning, we're talking about land areas, that's all. So when you talk to people from Habasha, that's who you call Ethiopians, talk to them yourself, they'll tell you. Now, in relationship to free white persons, so we'll go to the law dictionary.
You put it back up on the screen?
Because I appreciate the brother, but he conveniently left out key parts.
Come on, teacher.
You know, because it, you know, trying to make that argument. Now, when you're talking to Europeans, you know, they know that it's a legal status. And as a matter of fact, you know, when they're talking red people, and you don't see this other thing, you don't see Manchurians calling themselves yellow people. You know, they do not. The only people that play that, you know, crayon game are people here, Europeans, and the familiars and conversos amongst them. Conversos are Moors and Yahudi, and when I say there's no J in Aramaic, we talk about the sound. So when you would say, like Jalabu, you know, you would say Yalabu. You know, there's no like J. The hard J wasn't used even in language until around 1500 with some of the priests, and then around 1700s in language in general. That's what I'm making reference to. That's fact, do the research, you know. And again, what you'll see is the psychology of keep associating the word black with skin color and acting like there's a rejection of it. There's not a rejection of the word. It's called misclassification and disassociation. In law, in propria persona is the principle of being yourself, meaning that if a Chinese start calling himself yellow man before anybody in the civilized world, fact, he loses his birthright. Are we clear?
That's right.
Because we're not talking about skin color, you're talking about heritability, you're talking about pedigree, bloodline. When you're talking in any culture, they say honor your mothers and your fathers, that because your inheritance is there. The preservation of nation states is in your pedigree. Your pedigree is what nationality is. Are we clear? And the other deal of it is when you go into ancient Canaanite Moabite history, particularly in South America, you'll see the last high priest of the ancient Moabite nation, which was actually a matriarchy. The last high priest, Moor-Luakanil. This is where you see M-U-U-R and M-O-O-R, including in the ancient world, the O was considered sacred. And so a lot of times you would substitute it with the U. Now, and this is again from an added lesson. This is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say, you know, what is a Mason? A Mason is a Muslim son, but yet the brothers and sisters refer to themselves as Muslims. You understand? But he's still sending them a message. You get the point? And then you go into the Renaissance. And the Renaissance, you'll see the jurisprudence that he's dismissing, respectfully, as the white man's. It is the white man's. It's the status. Now, for those of you who deal with people around the nations, around the world, you'll find that people from Asia and Africa that come to North America, if they know that you're not hung up with this black thing, you let them show you their passport and it'll have white on it. It's a status. It's not their complexion. And one of the hardest things to do is to get our people to recognize, stop getting hung up in your self-hatred of the skin game. It's not about your complexion. It's about your legal status, distinguished from your lawful status. You know, I want to make that point because people keep misrepresenting what the Prophet's saying. And I want to make that clear because there's an assumption that the position is dogmatic. It's not dogmatic. More science distinguished from dogmata. Now, when you go into Adam chamber, just like in the nation, like the Lamb was saying, you know, after you go through your actual facts, he said, supreme wisdom will be handed you later. And when you're talking to the ministers, like in private, they're talking more science. And it's no secret. I mean, it's never been a secret, except when you come out to the masses, they will just say so-called black because the people didn't want it yet, if you get the point. But they were being prepared for it. That's what their lessons were. You know, it's no big secret. You know, even like when we go down to Kentucky, do lectures. Muhammad Ali's brother, make sure we have lectures right around the corner from the house, and we go visit them and stuff like that. They all know us. It's not a secret. What I see is people getting hung up with, you see your shoe? That means black. And that yellow book right there in your hand, that really means black too. And those earrings you got, the hoops and stuff, that means black too. But the camera, that means black. And that picture on the wall, that means black. You talking about a dictionary, every word means black. You don't have all these, you don't have a lot of words having any word has a meaning. It has a mother. It's an etymon. Now, when it comes to Moorish, when you deal with prefix and suffix, you change a noun to an adjective, which is logical. Just like you would say, French. French, so France, right? Or Frankish, then your adjective. This is back to fundamental linguistics. Prefixes and suffixes change the classifications of words. That's third grade grammar. It's not confusing, and this is why we present to you these fundamentals, because people keep on playing this self-hatred game, but the real deal of it is, this is the whole deal. And one of the reasons we gave you the Dungy case, because it puts it in perspective. Now on the back, and supporting what the brother says, law and history goes together. That is true. This is why in the nation and the Moorish Science Temple, law and history is taught together, because that is a fact. So what you find is that whether you're dealing with some of the brothers and sisters in any organization, whether it's the Moorish Science Temple of America or the Nation of Islam, what I've discovered in my travels is that many of the masses of the people really don't ever get them supreme lessons. They don't ever get those added degrees. Most of them stay in the dogma, which is why we're always debating and arguing. You don't need to argue. Bring the facts. And use the tools. So we're going to go and finish what he was helping us with, and I really appreciate that. Yeah. Now, free white persons is a legal status. Now, again, when you talk to Europeans, and they recognize that you actually know something, they'll tell you this stuff themselves. The Europeans will tell you this. You don't need some so-called black leader to tell you. Europeans will talk to you when they see that you're not spooked up in this stupid color skin game that is a Jesuit operation, has no ancient order in Africa. That game is contemporary. So keep that in mind too. So we need to grow up, we need to grow up and get real. This is a part he left out. Now, the free white persons, we recognize here in the free white persons referred to in the Naturalization Act. So therefore, you must be familiar with the Naturalization Act in order to know what it's making reference to. So you're dealing with timeline, right? So, as amended by Act July the 14th, 1870, you do the research and you'll see this where Ulysses S. Grant modified. Then, of course, you deal with the Whiggamore Party and also with the split of the Whiggamore Party. Then you have the Cotton Whigs, etc. And then you have those two sides. Then you have the Europeans wearing wigs to imitate the Moor. That's where you get Whiggamore from. Europeans imitating Moors. Right to this day, you have in the judicial orders of Europe, they'll wear the curly wig imitating Moors. Why? Because the Moors that brought jurisprudence to the Europeans. It's not the Europeans' book, it's your stuff. They're ruling you with your own stuff. You can go into these big-time churches, these big-time mosques, these big-time temples, and these big-time any kind of organizations. You can go look at the special parking, and you'll see those badges on their car with the Sphinx head and the Moorish sword above it like that with a two-edged sword. That means the subjugation of the Moabite woman. You. Everybody know that. In any secret society on planet Earth, and right in this area, for those of you who do any kind of research, go right there to George Washington's Masonic Museum, and you can see Ben Bay's fez in there, the black fez, Ben Bay. Who's Ben Bay? You're taught in school Ben Banneker. And everybody knows his baby Ben Bay. Everybody knows Elijah Poole Bay is Elijah Muhammad. It's no big deal. It's just simply the truth. You know what I mean? The deal of it is, but we were infiltrated and people had to make adjustments, you know, because they was getting murdered. Do you understand what I'm saying? Anybody found out, just like when Malcolm made the highs, went over that white and black stuff. French Muslim, blue-eyed French Muslim school, and we're coming with that white and black stuff. That's slave language. To you, Maghreb is evening salat. To the world, Maghreb is Morocco, the most extreme west. You left home, brother. Maghreb is North America. You go look up in the dictionary. Maghreb is Morocco, the most extreme west. Not east, west. That's why the Europeans running the world from your land. First lesson they'll get in any secret society, and anybody here is a traveling man, anybody here in the Eastern Star, matron, etc., daughter of American Revolution, not Asiatics, Europeans. First lesson you're going to get is a root to Moabites. Moabite is the ancient name for Al-Moroccan, or what you call Moor. Moor is short, actually, for Moroccan. You know, so the concepts that people need to really understand and really get clear in your head. Stop getting caught in skin complexion. We're not talking skin complexion. You're talking statuses, and you're talking terms and classifications of words. Are we clear? Yeah. And we're talking a caste system that's introduced by German, Dutch masters in order to create schism with us. Are we clear? And no different than someone, say, who don't know their own history, right? If you talk to the average brother or sister in the nation, or fruit, or something like that, and start talking about the temple of Islam or the temple of Allah, he'll look at you crooked like you're talking something else. That's where he's at. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's people, and like I'm agreeing with him, people get caught up in the names of organizations and institutions, and they identify with that. I'm not knocking that. That has nothing to do with your bloodline. Has nothing to do with your pedigree. You're who your forefathers were, having nothing to do with whether you're atheist or whether you believe in stuff. It's your mother. It's your blood. It's your pedigree. Are we clear? I was putting an addition on my brother's house years ago. And I was tramming out, you know, because I took one of the garages and I made it a suite for when I'm up there, so I have some place to, you know, instead of going wherever or taking one of the bedrooms, I did one of the garages over and I made a suite there. So we put an addition on the house, and so I could add the garage, and then I made a cathedral ceiling. Anyway, Europeans walking around with his dog, you know, it's up in Newport's right off exit 18. And it's like kind of like middle and upper middle class area, right? And a lot of celebrities live in that area too, right? And he said, "Oh, Al, see you're doing something new again," you know, because he had a corner property, big property. And he says, he's introduced him to me, right? They worked together because my brother worked at IBM, you know, designing computers, and they also worked at Hudson Electric. So he says, "Oh man, you're putting a thing on there, right?" To cut through the chase, he asked why I was a Bay and he was still cooked. He said, "Because he's national." Now this is his friend. I'm telling you, we was going to get a backhoe. Half an hour later, hear this rumbling. They backed up a backhoe, took it up there. We didn't have to do anything. That was a European because he knew I was a Bay. And he said, "My wife tells about the Moors all the time. She's Italian." I give her the floor.
Third round.
This is the last one?
Report summary.
Okay, I thought it was murder, death, homicide. I ain't come to play. I come so hyped up because I knew it was, I anticipated the room being filled up with Moors. And while I know my brother is still gonna hold his position after tonight, I know you in your secret place gonna say, "We black." Because I'm not talking to your ideology, I'm talking to your soul. See, you can deny for the record. I know you can deny for the record. Man, I can't go on record agreeing with Brother Edward. But in your soul,
No shout now, family, please.
that brother right. That brother is right. Can you go to the next slide? No, go back to. I want to get back on that. Go back one more. That's what I'm looking for. The more. See, because more comes from moros, the Greek term. So when we practice self-determination, which means we name ourselves and define ourselves, we're not even Moorish. Because that's a Greek term. That's a Eurocentric term. That's a white term. Prior to the Greeks calling us Moros, we never called ourselves that. You say, yes, we did. We come from Moab. We're descendants of Moab in the Bible. I'm not no descendant of Moab. I'm the father of civilization, not a descendant of civilization. Everybody comes from me. I don't come from anyone. I want to hope that's a critical point. And when you talk about Moab, who is Moab? Moab is a biblical character. Lot, I believe it was the prophet Lot in the Bible. One day Lot had sex with his daughters. And in that copulation, she got pregnant and had 2 sons, Ammon and Moab. And the people that came from this incestuous relationship, the descendants of Moab, are Moabites. That's not my origin. I can't accept that. That's not my origin in the world. As a student of history, and I know that y'all talk about old man Cush and his descendants, these are the first ones coming into Africa, right? Because they left the land, the ancient land of Canaan. That's not true. Anthropological fact, humanity originated in Africa. You got a not out of Africa theory. Because you believe that the first Moors were old man Cush and Ham. That's in your book. That's what you believe in. That's anthropologically not true. If that's true, you should be able to show me some older fossil remains in Canaan than the ones in Africa. We got Zinjanthropus, 1,750,000 years old. And Zinjanthropus had a mother and father. You can't show me no bones in Canaan that's older than 1,750,000 years. There go that cognitive dissonance again. Because you're upholding the ideology. In your mind, you're upholding the truth. And it only looks good in circles with people who believe like you believe. But if you come in an academic circle, we might have to question your IQ. Because you're not standing on the truth. This is an anthropological lie. You know humanity originated in Africa. You know it. In your soul, you know it. But ideologically, you can't stand on that. You can't say it. So you believe that man came into Africa from another place. You have to believe that if old man Cush and Ham were the first descendants, first ones to enter and inhabit Africa. I just read that last night. Next slide, where's Alqamar? Alqamar, we need you. Okay. And I want to point out another linguistic point, and I hope it'll come out in the question and answer or something. I hope it come out because I know what you're going to say. I got you in the intellectual corner. I'm not going to give up. I come to kill. I'm not going to give up. I got you in the intellectual corner. So you're going to try to hop on English and stick with English. That's why I come with primary source text. See, you will say that's the European. What about the Arabic? We was black in Arabic. Address that. What about the Hebrew? We were black in Hebrew. Address that. What about the Medunetta? We were black in Medunetta. Address that. No, I haven't even got to English yet because I know that's the weakest part of my argument. You're going to attack that, and I'm not coming with Eurocentrism. I'm coming with our original languages.
Come on.
In our original languages, we were black. We always referred to ourselves as black. And just because you experience cognitive dissonance on this issue, it doesn't change the truth. Kemet means land of the black. It meant that 5,000 years ago, and it means that right now. Kemetu means black people. It meant that 5,000 years ago, and it means that right now. Cush means black. It meant that 1,000 years ago, it means that right now. Cam or Ham mean black. You can't get around it. More means black. So you're going to defend Eurocentrism in the name of promoting freedom. And then you come talking about international. These are white folk concepts.
Come on.
These are white folk perspectives. International. I just showed you how the white man don't respect international law when it ain't in his favor. Did George Bush violate international law when he invaded Iraq and killed Saddam Hussein?
Yes, sir.
So if they'll violate international law, how can you tell me about black? We talking about status and black is non-descendant. I don't care about what they say. When I say black, I mean we first. When I say we black, I mean we powerful. When I say we black, I mean everybody come from us. And it's in tune with the linguistics, the history, and the law. When you talk about the Moors and the law and sovereignty, y'all don't receive any type of freedom. The average people who don't proclaim their nationality, because I got to talk to your cockiness. You ain't got no reparations either.
No shouting out, no shouting out, family, please. No shout. That's one of the rules.
So I wanted to point out something linguistically. Agua is Spanish for water. Is agua Spanish for water? Would anybody rebut that? And from the Spanish word agua, we get aqua. The English word, the English equivalent, aqua. And no one would dispute that aqua and agua is related because one is water in Spanish and one is water in English, right? No one would debate that. Latin Dios means God. And from the Latin or the Greek Dios, we get the Latin theo. Hence theology, theological. But theo means God. There's no dispute linguistically in that, right? It's just the English equivalent. So, Kemet, land of the blacks, is the land of the blacks is the English equivalent of the Meruneta. How your faculty shut down on that, but it's okay with aqua? Because you're an ideologue. Your faculty shut down. You can accept the English equivalent on everything else, but when we get to something, Aswad, Arabic, your faculty shut down. What does Aswad mean in English? Black. But because you've been taught that black according to science means deaf, you can't even say it. You can't even stand on it. Have Moors who don't call themselves black received any type of freedom that the masses have? No. What lawsuits have the Moors won as a result of proclaiming their nationalities? Because we're teaching our people our nationalities, they may know they're not Negro, colored people, black people, Ethiopians. Right? What lawsuits, what law has been favorable for you? If we could look and say, man, we might well proclaim our nationality. They're getting 40 acres in a mule, they're getting freedom, the police don't mess with them. Every time I look at a case, the Moor in jail, arguing with the court. I ain't seen a bunch of YouTube cases where y'all winning. It's ideological. And somebody has to tell you it's ideological. Because you walk around like, yeah, and then everybody ain't no more, you think they deaf, dumb, and blind. With an arrogance. But it's an arrogance that's based on being an ideologue. It ain't rooted in truth. It ain't rooted in no science. It ain't rooted in linguistics. You see the Grand Sheik ain't addressed that primary source text piece. He ain't gonna deal with the linguistical piece because he agreed with me. Well, if he agreed with me, that means he black too. Because he said he agreed with me. And he said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, even Elijah Muhammad said so-called black. He never used black. He said so-called Negro. His landmark book was message to the, not the so-called black man. His landmark book was message to the black man in America. We've always been black. We've always been black based upon the history. We've always been black based upon the linguistics. We've always been black based upon the law. So when you deal with the slave system, of course you're right. I agree with you. I'm a Moor. In the sense that Moor means black. In history, there were people in 711 AD, all that ruled Spain and Portugal and southern France, all the way to November 25th, 1491. Oh yeah, I know that stuff. So in that sense, I'm a Moor, because that's my people. But in the religious, ideological sense, I'm not a Moor. Moor come from a Greek term. Moor come from a biblical term, because y'all can go to Moab and act like we had Bibles in Africa. And there was a Moorish kingdom and all of us warfare. That's not true. That flag ain't no 10,000 years old. That flag ain't even 120 years old. But as an ideologue, you sleep comfortable at night believing that 10,000 years ago you had a flag. And there's no Bay or Ill tribe in Africa. Since we just getting down to the nitty gritty, where's the Bay tribe at? Yeah, I ain't found them. I'm an avid student. I'm an ardent student of history. I've never found the Bay and Ill tribe in Africa. Where the Bay and Ill tribe? It's religious teaching. It's religious teaching. And my mind as an intellectual would not allow me to give you a free pass when we have an intellectual conversation. It's a religious teaching. And you have to know that's a religious teaching. You can't go around telling, you ain't telling my children, you know, it's a Bay tribe in Africa. Where? What part of Africa? We got to proclaim our nationality. Moorish American is not a nationality. The people in Morocco don't say they're Moorish Americans. They say they're Moroccan Americans. You want me to be something they not even. They not even Moorish Americans. They're Moroccan Americans. Moorish American is not a nationality. What land is Moorish? Y'all done made us too smart, Moors. Yemen is black, Kush black, Cam black, Ghana, Mali, Song, Hay. They called it the Western Sudan, or Balad al Sudan, the land of the black. These are linguistic and historical points you can't get around. See, when I came in here, I wasn't worried, because I knew that I would provide irrefutable, undeniable, undebatable information where there's nothing you can say. The most you can do is be silent. You said, man, he bit off more than he can chew. The boy jumped out there with Brother Edward. I came to kill. We black. I came to kill that mentality, that religiosity. We are too smart in 2019 to be promoting religiosity. It's good if it floats your boat, it makes you cool, make you stop smoking, drinking, gambling, getting your life together. Praise be to Allah. If a person worship a rock, if it make them a better person, alhamdulillah, I'm not going to worship it. If it make them better, praise be to Allah. But don't try to impose rock worship on me. That's my issue. When you tell me that, because I say I'm black, as if I'm not in the pair with the good brothers no more. The black, Negro, Ethiopian, and color. This is not historically accurate. The people in Ethiopia are Ethiopians. And Ethiopia does not mean something divided. What language is that? Give me a reference besides Noble Drew Ali. Anywhere on earth, any reference that says Ethiopia means divided, something divided. You can't give me not one reference but Moorish literature. They got a case in it, one of his, I went and looked up the case. The case don't even exist. Every time you Google a case, it goes to a Moor site. I said, what a real case? I went to the law book, I went to blacks, I went to everywhere. I said, man, these people crazy. It's 2019, y'all people too smart for this. I don't even have no more time, because I'm waiting on the questions so I can come with some answers.
Now I'm gonna finish this. Now, same way you say you can't find Bay, right? In Eel, right? Where do you find, what nation you find X in Africa? Let's be real. Let's just be real. And if you know yourself, how you X or X'd out? Let's use common sense. That's religious dogma. Just like he said. Now, deal, and I'll read this out. And again, much of the issue is still being referenced as skin, and we keep telling him that that's not what we're talking status. And for some reason, there's some kind of mental block there. So free white persons referred to in the Naturalization Act, as amended by Act July 14, 1870, keep those dates in time in line, has meaning naturally given to it when first used in 1 Statute 103, C3, meaning all persons including or belonging to the European races then commonly referred to as white and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have immigrated. And the other countries that they have immigrated to because they're indigenous to nowhere, are we clear? They are the immigrants on the planet, period, are we clear? Now, free white persons, it includes all European Jews more or less intermixed with peoples of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. Free white persons includes Magyars, Lapps, and Finns, and the Basques and Albanians. Free white persons includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, the mixed Greek, Latin, and Phoenician and North African inhabitants of Sicily. So you can see it's a status. And the mixed Slav and Tatar inhabitants of South Russia. The mixed Slav and Tatar inhabitants of South Russia. Are we clear? Correct. Free white persons does not mean Caucasian race. You notice that he didn't go there. He left that out. Now, the Europeans been claiming to be white people. He's not going to write something against his own claim. It's a legal status. Are we clear? Free white persons does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan races, or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian peoples who inhabit Persia. A Syrian of Asiatic birth and descent will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen of the United States as being a free white person. Then it has a law case for you to reference, so you can see it's a legal status. And so when the Europeans in the Whiggamore Party call themselves white people under Horace Greeley, you know, it's where you could go west, young man, and the Mummers Parade, they assemble at 6th and Moore Street in Philadelphia, and they march west, turn 90 degrees, and they stop by the battleground, which is City Hall, which is designed exactly like a mosque. Then the parade ends at the Masonic Lodge that George Washington closed. Are we clear? So again, I cannot emphasize enough, we're not talking skin complexion, we're talking status. The issue of European occupation of all lands, what you call annexation or the annexing, colonization. A colonist is to social political operations what a leech is to biology. They're bloodsuckers, are we clear? It's not an attitude, it's just a political fact. Are we clear? Race and racism is a misused word. Race is the human species. The human species is expanded into families around the planet called nations. Any major city on the planet Earth has vexillum, which you call flags that represent the mothers or the bloodline or the pedigree of peoples around the world. Though related, that is it. Are we clear? Yeah. Now, when we're talking nationality, and you're talking the Naturalization Act of 1870, this is around the time when the Europeans start claiming to be white people. It's a status issue. Now, when people are going into history and they start talking about white people and ancient this and that, they're lying because the Europeans weren't called white people. They'll tell you that. Are we clear? Plus, they were called the red people, not some Indian is made up. That doesn't even damn exist. Are we clear? That's why sometimes, the Albion hybrids are called, rednecks. And so when you go into the ancient world, you'll see that in the land of Angles, England was called Albion. Are we clear? When we ruled. And you'll see the Renaissance, 13th to 16th century, 12th, it actually was actually earlier, and Europeans themselves will tell you, their foundation of civilization comes from the Moors with the Renaissance. That's why anybody that knows the history goes into the Renaissance to see what has evolved in the world of knowledge and education to this very day. Are we clear? So the deal of it is you've been marked out or written out of history, so X marks the spot. You know, and so the deal of it is people don't know themselves while saying knowing themselves. And the other deal, and it's not a criticism, and like we're just dealing with critical analysis, right? So Islam is a creed, but Islam is also a science. You know, so you have creed principles or imagery, you know, that may be given to masses and they come from that degree, but when they become scientists, then now you go into what is called the priesthood or an adeptship. And those who rule never think like those who are called the followers. The followers, for the most part, have been kept in dogma systems. In other words, they've been bill payers. Are we clear? One thing that gets a lot of people upset with Noble Ali is that he pulled the wool off of all secret societies and start releasing some of the secrets of the atom chambers of the world and start liberating the people. Now keep in mind, so many people have been making financial self-service gain and expensive suits under the black title, this black game, that they don't want to release that. And so everything means black all of a sudden. Now, show me dictionary on the planet Earth, an etymological dictionary on the planet Earth that backs up half of the Asiatic African words mean black. Other deal of it is the Earth, all the continents begin with A, right? Furthermore, we call the land Asia before we called it Africa. Are we clear? Also the ancient world of Mexico. And then when you deal with Kaaba, the black stone, you'll see Aunt Hagar's grave on one side and the meteorite on one side. Meteorite remind you that we didn't all come from this planet. And Aunt Hagar's grave that's in there in Mecca, she ruled in ancient Olmec, or what you call Central America, ETC. You can go to California, any of your major museums, and you see Hammurabi Bay's law. And you know, those who know the history, this some of the problems that you have with Europeans, with their anger with you today. You know, and slave is a Slovakian. It's an identity, it's not a, you know, it's a connotative use. You know, so Moors have been held to servitude, but they're not slaves. All right, Europeans are slaves. All right, and Europeans were slaves to the Moors. This is another reason you need to know your history. Are we clear? And if you really want to know, truthfully, without anger, without a bitterness and stuff like that, just talk to some Europeans straight, and particularly some Ashkenazis who claim to be Jews and are not Jews. And they'll tell you bluntly, they know who you are, and they know you ain't black. But they're not talking about your skin, they're talking status. I cannot emphasize that enough. They're not talking skin complexion, they're talking status. And when they're talking white, they're talking status. Now, to people who have the mentality of children, they think human beings are crayons, so you have a problem trying to get them to grow up. And they will keep talking about, you know, self-esteem and the color of your skin. It's not skin complexion, it's legal status. Now, putting things in perspective, this is why you're given the Dungy case, which you have, and then you look at the law supports. Now, you notice that Dungy was Portuguese. Now, Lincoln did that case 5 years before he was praetor for the United States Corporation, right? What you call president, but they're praetor. That's what they really are. Now, the issue was his legal status. And the argument was he was Moor. That's what won the case. Because the black brands were designed to remove you from heritability. It's not that the word means you're not heritable. It is the tagging or the branding of people. Are we clear? It just happens to be that black is what they branded you with. And Negro is what they branded you with. You understand? And Indian is what they branded to steal your estate. It's not about your complexion of your skin. The sooner you start studying jurisprudence, you'll see that's the whole argument. And when you deal with international law, we know that the Europeans don't honor the law. Why do you think the Moorish movement exists? To restore the birthright. Are we clear? And many of you who study jurisprudence know that P-conscious Moors have a lot of wins in the courts. They don't publish them. They just publish the misrepresentations in order to intimidate others from really studying pedigree, so they can go around calling themselves X because they're scared to identify their nation. You ask any African, ask where's the X nation, they'll look at you like you're out to lunch, logically. And on another short, you know, a brother, the ambassador the brother of the ambassador of Liberia used to call me weekly, and Abdullah will verify this. And this is back when Mike was having them problems with them children, when he was trying to get me to come out to California. The Q used to call me every Wednesday around 4 o'clock on time for quite some time. And Marrakesh used to call me from Liberia. And, you know, Monroe set that up because they were trying to get to back up the so-called black diaspora thing, when the Asiatics know that the Maghreb, Algiers, etc., the same soil that you find right there is in the land of flowers. Because before the great earthquake, when you're talking Africa, you're standing on Africa. And the sooner our people get that out of their head that they were brought from any place, the sooner we can start solving problems, because you're mentally disconnected. This is the reason why the Europeans can't deport you. So what they did, Monroe did that, and also Bilbo was making these arguments before the Senate in the 40s. You all can do the research, because they're trying to get these people to disconnect from the land. You notice all the problems that are in our community, and particularly in this area, right? You can go down to the station down there, and you'll see all these Asiatics, all kind of issues and problems, right? Why are they never deported? Because they can't deport us, because you're home. And this is demonstrated in the 30s movie, you know, like the Wizard of Oz, and in Dorothy, the Matriarchy, the Yellow Brick Road, your Zodiac Constitution, Emerald City, your Green Star, etc. And it must be understood with the different Moorish dynasties, yes, our flag was red, but also the Venus has also always been the pentagram, a part of Moorish culture, including Hex Alpha. All that stuff belongs to you. Are we clear? Now, so when you're dealing with the different dynasties, also when we were going out into different areas, they would use different flags, including the white flag with the gold star in it. See, so people need to understand that. Then the human family is the crescent and the star. That's our flag too. People need to know that. And I think a lot of times people look on the surface what they see presented in the temple and think that that's it, or think it's ideological. No, it's not. He gives you keys. And he also said, for those who know, the half has not been told. If I told you everything, you go back to sleep. Go back to that state of mind of your ancient mothers and fathers. And for those of you, when you leave here, you know, you go find any brothers or sisters in the nation that can tell you the meaning of this fast, what those perforations mean, what the tassel means, what this ball means, what these strands means, and the only ones that know is mostly the ministers. And so they disrespect their own headdress because they don't know their own headdress. They think they're black. They're Moors. Right on. And I'll say peace.
Peace. Have a 5-minute summary each, and then we're taking a 10-minute break after this.
If it wasn't for the Moors, the institution of slavery would have never occurred. I want to give the historical backdrop for that statement. In 711 AD, General Tarik, who Gibraltar is actually named after, the Rock of Gibraltar, crossed into Spain. And they ruled Spain, Portugal, and southern France. And the Moors would have conquered the entire Europe had it not been for Charles the Hammer Martel, who the Ku Klux Klan gladly praised. You could read a letter from J.B. Stoner, who was the Grand Wizard of Christian Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. It's in the back of the Message to the Black Man. And he wrote a letter to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad where he addressed the Moors. And he said Islam is I know you say you can't say the N word, but that's what he said, is an in religion. And he said Islam teaches that if you steal, they'll chop off your hand. He said if Negroes accept Islam, how many Negroes be walking around with no hands? But it was the Moors, he referenced Charles the Hammer Martel, who stopped the Moors. And it was the Battle of Tours, 732 AD.
732.
You know, he gonna bear witness. He gonna come right behind me and say, he right. In 732, they had two groups of Moors, the Almohads and the Almoravids. One were black, phenotypically, and the other one was Arabs. And the blacks went in first, conquered, invited the Arabs in because we felt they knew a little bit more Islam than us because the Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was from Arabia. So they came in, they knew the Arabic, and so we kind of submitted to their training, right? And so Charles the Hammer Martel, they had a scorched earth policy. And that scorched earth policy was when people were invaded, anything that you couldn't take with you, you would set it on fire, destroy it, so they wouldn't have any riches. So Charles the Hammer Martel knew that the Moors were conquerors. They were used to going in and taking everything. And so he said, no, what we're going to do, we're going to leave some gold. We're going to leave some treasures for them. And we're going to leave some white women. And then when the Moors got there, they weren't used to that. They were used to all the animals being dead, everybody gone, and the village burned down. That's what the Moors were used to when they got there, seeing them white women. And a little gold. And a little riches. The Moors started fighting each other. And Charles the Hammer came down, the Franks came down and vamped down on them and crushed them. And that's why Islam didn't conquer the entire Europe. I got to point that out. And so Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand married, uniting the kingdom of Castile and Aragon, right? And because the Moors had the stronghold in Northwest Africa, and then the other Muslims had the stronghold in what is called the Middle East today, everything you did, you had to, as a Christian European, you had to deal with the Muslims. So they didn't want to deal with the Muslims. So they wanted a new route to India to get the spices, to get the nutmeg, to get the silk. So she said, I know a guy who's an Italian named Christopher Columbus. And she hired him and gave him the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. And he said that the earth is round, and if I sail west, I'll eventually end up in the east, right? And he got lost. And white folk can't stand and say they lost. So he was looking for India. And so when he was selling west, and he ran into some people, it's the West Indies, the arrogance of white folk. And it was the Moors. Had it not been for the Moors, Christopher Columbus wouldn't have been looking for a new route to India, thus discovering a new world, laying the basis for the slave trade. I want to need one more time.
He's correct. He's correct. That's where slaves come from. The Moors subduing the Europeans. And keep in mind, 732, the Battle of Poitiers, the Battle of Tours near Poitiers, France. The Moors are going back into their own land. This whole idea about Moors invading Spain is a misrepresentation. Europe, under Queen Europa, was ceded to the Europeans. The Europeans aren't really Europeans. I'm clear. You don't call them white people. They're Albions. They're hybrids. They're hybrids. That's not denial. The fall of the Muslim world, so when they talk about Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand merging their kingdoms, Aragon and Castile, the area that the Moors ruled is Al-Andalusia. It wasn't called Spain until after their marriage. So when they talk about the Moors in Spain, that's a misrepresentation. So when you're writing history, Spain don't damn exist. It's a cover-up of Moorish history. And the caliphates, and including April Fool, is when under now, what's his, Boabdil? Yes. The king? All right, and Sultan of the territory. Now, because the Europeans did a scorched earth type policy, he abdicated on January the 1st, of 1492, and this is when the Red House fell. Are we clear? This is why in all your secret societies have Blue House, Red House, that they're talking about the Alhambra. And so the 1492 is the fall of the Moorish Empire, not totally, because you're still going on later on, even up to the Battle Creek, Michigan, with the Batam Ram, etc. But the deal of it is to understand that the European is not aboriginal or indigenous to the planet. The Moors ain't conquered Europe. The Moors resettled Europe because these people were out of order. They were eating people and doing silly crap. You know, so the deal of it is, and then plus, you know, we were civilizing them. Are we clear?
Yep.
And this is where you have the ritual they have in their secret societies, or walking the sands of the desert, etc., and riding the goat and all these symbols. And even with the so-called raising of Hiram Abiff, which is symbolic of the grand architect, we who are the fathers and the mothers and fathers of civilization. That's not a secret. However, again, our fall was us violating our own laws and rules. You're dealing with the nature of things. You understand? So when you go into history, no one's playing no ideologue like the Moors are so, you know, spotless. You're not innocent. You know, you fell because you violated divine law. Are we clear? But the Europeans honor you secretly, even when they get in their highest degrees of masonry, at least in here in 32 and 33 degrees. They get what? The Shriners, they get certificates, and they get a Moorish name, and their lodges are all Moorish names, etc. And their password is Assalamu alaikum. Are we clear? Everybody knows who you are. There ain't no big deal. You understand? The deal is the concept of us conquering Europe is a misrepresentation in history. We went back in there to put order in. Are we clear? And again, like he says, Charles Martel, a hammer, that's why he's called the hammer. If he hadn't defeated the Moors, etc., near, you know, in the Battle of Tours near Poitiers, etc., yes, all of Europe would be Islamic today. This has much to do why you're mistreated today. Are we clear? All right, so know your history and know yourself. All right, so when they're saying Muslim and Moors, they're talking about all the Asiatic people. Arab is not a people, it's the nobles, it's you. Peace.
Right. Okay, family, that concludes our debate part of the evening. We're going to take a 10-minute break for you guys to, you know, stretch your legs, do a little breather, check out the vendors up front, and we're going to come back and do 30 minutes of question and answer. All right, thank you.
Did we get peanut butter sandwiches?
Wow. I was expecting more context of history like this stuff. We should know this stuff. And we're the first race with interest. Like, so I'm like, we're the first, like, this stuff is supposed to see. That's why it's like the old races.
Act like it's an ideology or belief.
Because it's like, you know, I saw that it's like people always
Yeah, we're talking about
weird shoes on, that you got the weird outfit. You got Jordan on, you got the fresh jersey.
It's affecting a lot of organizations that have been generating a lot of finance on the black debt, and even getting, would you say, donations from corporations. You, as a writer, a lot of the corporations want to fund them because they're looking at Negro as stock. They ain't really trying to help these people, you know. So the deal is, as more and more people become conscious, they're trying to find every form they can with the active wars and try to act like it's a belief system when the real deal is we're under attack. And we're trying to present knowledge to people so they can start defending their position rather than people capitulating under the Christian black burden. While people on the outside, people are trying to tell people are black, and then you agree to the status that they've been doing stuff to you. And then they try to present it as an identity when they know it's not an identity. They keep trying to say that our skin color is the identity. Identity of pedigree and heritage is not an adjective. You know, it's not an adjective. You know, they don't call themselves young people. You know, really. These are paradigms. They're keeping their people. Now, so the point of this is dismiss people, justifiable arguments. Recognize that if you're going to solve problems, you have to deal with logistical issues, you're dealing with communication, you're dealing with language. You're dealing with languages and knowledge around the world. You can't just say that, you know, you speak in several languages and every language you have all the words in black. So let's go ahead and say what you want to say. And you just simply go to your child's picture and because it has the etymology of the language. You have to also make that English don't belong to your language. You know, the idea that that's his language, that's his name. That's a white man's thing. Yes, it is a white man's thing, but they're not, it's not the they're not when you talk right there at all, you're talking Asiatics. You're talking about people of land, you're not talking Europeans. European took that over. The longest in the last week or so years, it's become a social accepted reality, but it is in fact not a true reality. And the challenge to Europeans today, it's a social opportunity. You can't blame Europeans, say take on local status to remove the oppression that he was on. Because he was the slave, the European was slave. That's why they even do the movie of Trading Places, and that's why they chose to And this is also why they, they're in South Philadelphia. It's also why the theme of the book was the stop march. You have flash drive in this now, right? Here. Share one here. Share one with you. Now that is the Dungy case, and it puts it in perspective of time. See, because it's just like, like when you do when you're dealing with timeline, like for instance, because we're old enough. Come here, brother. See, now, all right, now, he's our youth, right? Now, he knows and he hears, to him, he's of age, but he's like it, I like it. And he deals because these things are so sensitive, we have not really done our job. All we've been doing bars and churches, and then the next generation have lost nothing. So, like, when you heard, like, grandfather or great uncle, you call them black fights. But the concept that he would receive from the socialization is that he was insulted because somebody's making fun of his skin. That's not true. You were being set up for what is called mischief. So they brand you. If you didn't sue them, the next step they come and take your estate, kill the marriage, and run you out of town. They might lynch you because it takes you out of the human family. You understand what I'm saying to you? This is why when you go into law cases, except for George Clinton, we're talking about, you will see the issue is status. When you look at the Dred Scott case, the most important slave case ever to come before the Supreme Court, people keep talking racism, but they're talking from a current perspective. The issue is plaintiff in error. Status. And they won't talk that because so many of our people today are compromised. And they make their living off this black argument. However, that same concept, as we're looking at, they didn't apply that. It's sort of like argument, see what he's talking about is George Washington didn't have an iPhone. He had a Samsung. They didn't. But if they can set that false paradigm up, take something out of sequence of time, this is what they've done. They've taken this black paradigm of a coding system, a caste system, and placed it in a time period when it didn't exist. And they're arguing from that perspective. So they're calling Europeans white people, and they weren't white people. You understand what I'm saying to you? It's a legal status. So they won't talk about the 1940s Ku Klux Klan oath in Philadelphia and why the mummers breaking this. That's the Europeans taking on the title, the noble title, and others didn't overthrew. And so now the people don't understand it's a legal status. Converso is the ones that help the legal skin. You tell them that the skin when they know they ain't making this reflection. Whatsoever. It has to do with the state. Always the state. And then a lot of the science and law together. So they're going to tell people about history and then take words and phrases out of context in a context that they won't even use. And because they know the state of mind people are in today. So that's molding the social
Alqamar.
This is why our generation
Alqamar.
Now in relation to is to let know people know that so they keep trying to defend.
We're going to get this thing started and get with the end of this.
But that was a signal. I remember people in conflict.
Brothers and sisters, we're going to go ahead and finish this up. Y'all can talk to Taj afterwards. We're going to finish this up.
sign it so I can keep this with this? Thank you. Love you.
All right, Islam.
Islam.
What we're going to do, we're going to have questions and answers pertaining to the lecture that was done tonight. Don't go off, with the knowledge that you know, because we're going to tangent. We're going to answer the questions or have question and answer pertaining to tonight. You got that? So, you? All right? Abdul. Let him get that mic right there.
I love this round.
Thank you, good brother.
I don't get no shirt. I'm a Moor.
Peanut butter sandwich too. Thank you. Go ahead, bro.
All right.
This is your first point.
Start off by saying Islam.
Islam family.
And I appreciate both of you coming out today to share your knowledge with us. I'm going to come from a spiritual perspective.
Yes.
I'm marrying science and law.
Yes.
Which is what Noble Ali asked us to do.
Yes.
The idea that we are still in the condition that we're in,
yes,
after hundreds of years.
7, but we're talking since the prophet brought.
Right.
Yes.
There's a disconnect.
Yes,
in our communities as it relates to our character development.
Yes.
Which is a scientific approach.
Yes.
To achieving our God status. I'm not here to debate.
No.
I'm not here to debate.
No, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking certain assumptions that people have, that's all. But
yeah,
continue.
I can explain what I mean, but I don't want to take up too much time.
Go ahead.
How do we get to the point where we have married science, and when I say the word science, I'm referring to spirituality. Okay, marrying science with law. Because I know this good brother was talking about we don't have our status back.
Yes.
Well, our status is connected to our character development. So how do we develop our character? The ladders that was talked about by Noble Ali.
Yes, closed up ladder.
Yes,
yeah.
In the Circle 7.
Yes.
How do we get to rebuilding our character? Because this conversation about black and Moor, it's on a physical level. It's not on a spiritual level. And how do we learn the science to help us to climb up that ladder?
Yeah, good.
Right? I'm dealing with money science right now, but the only way you can deal with money science, and the reason why we're broke, is because of our character development. So how do we get to that point where we're able to apply money science, apply our positions in the court system, get back the land that was stolen from us? So that's where I am.
Well, yeah.
Okay? So I just throw that out to you all. And brother, if you want, I can help you assist with the Jack Lee case that took place in Baltimore in the 70s, where this lawyer was a hustler. He got caught up. He had to come to the temple, and he learned the science and was able to get out of going to prison. Okay?
Okay, brother. Let him answer the question.
All right. Now, fundamentally, you're talking logistics. Now, and this is back, when you're talking etymology, right, that is the logistics of language. In all disciplines, logistic is key, right? So he's talking money. So first you gotta know what money is, right? Money, what money is, what money is not. So let's make certain things clear, because there's assumptions that people have. Credit is not money. Currency is not money. Gold and silver coin is money, lawful money. So now people need to know that. And the science of it is that you're dealing with the cosmological culture of the ancient African Asiatic world. And that's cosmology. So Islam is cosmology for the scientists. It's a belief system, like we talking, you know, dogmatic for the general masses who are the bill payers, are we clear? And so we have a situation where the priesthood, or those who had the knowledge, have been actually enslaving the believers, as you would say. And this is where we are out of order. Other issue is when you talk in spirituality, then on the surface, you know, I have to take you on your word that you're talking about yoga breathing techniques, because that's what spirituality is. It's not a belief system, it ain't prayer, it ain't salat, it's breathing techniques. So when you're talking spirituality, you're talking breathing techniques. So I need to really know if that's what we're talking about. And so when you're talking money, you're talking about gold and silver coinage. When you're talking about getting us back to where we need to be relative to our lost estate, you're talking what you call in jurisprudence, reversion of estate. So reversion of what estate? You're talking about the lost estate that Noble Drawley talking about. You're talking about the lost estate, essentially, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is talking about. Same thing Marcus Garvey. This is why they were all associated. Now, when you're talking about the so-called, or you're talking about the so-called different leaders, or people that really represent the restoration of our people's estate in the modern world, then you can talk Noble Drawley, Marcus Garvey, and Elijah Muhammad. Not that others haven't done some things, but if you're going to talk about restoration, you have to talk about those three men. Now, you have different degrees of presentment, because ultimately, the key in law for the status of restoration, etc., would have to be on the national level. This is why they all implied or taught principles about nationality, although all didn't go into detail about nationality, because without that as your inheritance is tied to that. So you're talking about reversion of estate. So now you would be making reference to the World Global Trust that was set up roughly around 1492 after the Romans conquered the Alhambra, i.e. the Moors, and then the other Asiatic nations fell like dominoes, etc. And as you already know, that most of your nation states that people recognize today did not exist. So you would have to go back to that political aggregate state. And then this is some of the signals that the Kenyan described when he went to Hikupta and exposed that the American Constitution comes from Muslim law. Then they deliberately chopped out or cropped out of the picture the trading banner, the amity banner, which is the stars and stripes, and exposed the Moorish star or the Moorish flag, which is the true national flag. That was a signal. Then Michelle goes to the Alhambra, that's a signal. Then she wears a red dress, that's a signal. These are signals. Then the Jew that left his administration ran for mayor of Chicago, which is the sister city of Mecca, right? And then on the first full day of the winter solstice, he issued a proclamation telling of Noble Drawley, telling of these people, talking about the rights to the land, etc. So these things must be talked about, and they must be comprehended by the people, because you're talking about estate. Are we clear?
Can I just make a quick mention,
Logistics.
family? If we can make our questions really brief as well as the responses, because we only have a half hour for question and answers. We can get everybody in, as many people as we can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Islam, gentlemen. Thank you for your participation. We greatly appreciate it. Great wisdom and information. Thank you. My question is there a law case that has taken place over the past 40, 50 years referencing anyone, okay, who was able to use his status as being a Moor or his status as being a part of the Nation of Islam that had any dealings with the courts at all that allowed them to get out of any form of trouble?
Can I stand up and answer that? Muhammad Ali.
Yes, sir.
Muhammad Ali was the champion of the heavyweight champ of the world. And he said he wouldn't go to Vietnam because of his religious belief as being a black Muslim member of the Nation of Islam. And the Supreme Court came back and ruled in favor of Muhammad Ali. Now I'm waiting on that Moors case myself.
Okay, is it not a fact, or is it a fact that he declared his nationality?
Where's that at?
I'm asking.
No, that's not a fact.
Is Ali a Moorish title?
It's not
No,
X.
it's his name, and there's not, Ali is not a
He's not
nationality.
X, he's Ali.
But that's not a nationality.
No, but is Ali a Moorish title? Or is that?
No, it's not a Moorish title. It's an Arabic name that means the Most High.
Woo! Taj, you have it?
It's a noble title that means Most High. It is a Moorish title, yeah.
Islam, thank you.
All right, Brother Abdul, he's next.
This question is for Brother Edward.
Can you raise your hand?
Brother Edward, this question is for you.
Okay, I can't. Okay.
You mentioned several times that you are a student of linguistics.
Right.
And so that therefore you are clearly aware of transliterations, of reconstruction of words, cognates, various languages, language labels. My question to you is, what language label is the word black?
Say it again.
What language label is the word black?
What language? I don't understand.
B-L-A-C-K. What language label?
I don't understand.
No, I'm saying, I'm asking it this way because you mentioned that you're a student of linguistics.
Right.
And being a student of linguistics, you're clear on language labels.
I'm not clear on.
Because I'm assuming based on you're saying that you're a student of linguistics. I would never pose the question to you if you never said you were a student of linguistics. So I would never said language label to someone like them.
Okay.
I'm saying language labels to you, but you say you're a student of linguistics.
Right.
So I didn't think I had to explain.
You do. You do. Wasn't that clear?
I didn't think I had to explain language label
But
to you. That's what I'm saying.
you do.
All right, do. All right.
I just said
Go.
you do.
All right. In dictionaries, you have language labels. English, Modern English, Old High German, Welsh. Those are language labels. That's language labels. So, what language label is the word black?
In English?
I'm asking you, no, I'm not asking you what language label is the word black.
I don't understand your
What does it fall under?
What language is the word black?
English,
Are you talking about
Arabic.
English?
No, I'm not.
Let's open up a dictionary.
Because I didn't come with English. I came with Arabic. I came with Hebrew. I came with because I knew you was gonna go there. See, I knew you was gonna go there. I've been studying you for 25 years. I knew you was gonna hop on English and go with the connotative and the denotative. That's why I didn't go there. No. But I'm addressing your question. I didn't debate you. I'm answering you.
No,
You already asked your question. The label, what label?
But you're not answering me.
I am answering. I'm not gonna answer it your way. I'm answering it my way. Okay. When we talk about linguistics, primary source text, I dealt with Medunetta, which is a language of our people spoke. I dealt with Arabic, a language our people spoke. I dealt with Hebrew, a language that our people spoke. And none of them were ever addressed. The Grand Sheikh said, he's right. Every point I make, he's right. But I guess they went over everybody's head and nobody caught that. He's right, linguistically. So now you're trying to get English is a bastard language. Right. English is, I never said anything about English. I didn't stand on English because I know that's your strong point. I come at your weak point. I come at your Achilles heel. I come with primary source text. So you will come with some black and some Eurocentrism and try to show me black is deaf, black is negative.
I didn't say that, brother.
This ain't no...
Hold on. I asked the question, what language is the word black? That's my question.
English.
No, I need
I just said that. Didn't I just say that?
He never answered. No, he never answered.
Wait. Stop. Let the, we ain't getting involved with it like this. Stop, sister, stop. We gotta keep this in order.
I'm saying he never, you answered the question.
I wasn't the only
He never answered the question. You answered it. So let's make it clear. You answered the question. He answered it after.
Okay, can we move to the next question? Did the question be answered?
Look, hold on, wait a minute. What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? Here it is, this is how we act. We can't keep order.
Yes, we can,
We
brother.
can't keep order?
Yes.
Well, let's keep order then. Let's keep order. That's all we got to do. Here you go, bro.
Mr. Todd. That's why I'm pleased there. In the spirit of, moving ahead together. There you go. Question is to both of you guys. We live in a dichotomy. We live in a dichotomy. Social, legal, domestic, and international.
Get in the mic, please.
So we have a social status, and I think we have a legal status.
You next.
Are we blacks socially, and should we be Moors legal? And just because Europeans do not honor a legal status, does that make it wrong?
That's a good question.
Can I answer?
I think it was Baba Dick Gregory that said legal doesn't mean right, because slavery was legal. And it doesn't mean right. And so we keep talking about what's legal. By whose standards? We keep using Europeans as reference points. When we talk about Eurocentric jurisprudence, you keep going back to them. Where's the self-determined, where the group at to talk about we don't care what they call us? This is what we call ourselves. Where that group at?
That's my exact point. Regardless of what they call us, should we be who we are? Which can be Moorish,
right?
Which can be black.
I'm a Moor in the sense that there were a people, typically, that were black, that were called Moors. I'm a student of history. I will not deny that. And I identify with them. But there are also a group of black people that's called Kemetu. I identify with them too. There's also another group of black people called Kushi. I identify with them too. Being a Moor is only a segment of our history, not the totality of our history.
Is more connected to the United States of America?
Is more connected.
Do we have treaties?
In the sense that Noble Drew Ali started in 1913 and brought Islam to us in America, yes. In that sense, but in the sense of, you talking about, one thing
should we use more as a tool?
We got to move on, man.
Yes. As a revolutionary, yeah, of course. If y'all win a case in court, I'm a Moor too. I'm coming right behind you on my 40 acres. We revolutionary. The spook who sat by the door. The revolutionary is wise enough and uses anything and everything in his arsenal to be triumphant. So being a Moor gonna get us a measure of freedom, I'm with that.
Brother X.
Next question.
Brother X, question. Do you believe that in following the laws of the land, this land, because it's a rhetorical question, because I'm coming with my question. I just want to make sure we're on the same place.
It depends.
All right? So if the laws of the land say that if you use this tag, or if you use this tag puts a status on you where you are civilly dead, should we continue to use that tag?
Say the last part again.
Civilly dead.
Civilly dead. Well, you see, you keep putting me back with white folk.
No, I'm home.
Civil by who?
Civil
by who?
The question.
Go ahead.
We're under colonization.
Okay.
My first question was, do you follow the laws of the land?
And I said it depends.
It depends. Now, if the laws of the land say if you identify yourself as this tag, then you are civilly dead. You have, in the eyes of the law, you got no rights coming. We don't recognize you. You're not a living, breathing, sentient being. You're nothing. You're the bottom of my shoe. And if the law of the land says if you operate in that manner, if you identify yourself with that status, then this is what you get. If somebody can clearly show that to you, would you come up off of that crazy status?
Well, yesterday I was on Facebook, and I made got to studying the Grand Sheik. I was studying the man like a boxer would study his opponent. And as I studied him, I put a post. I came up with a strong claim. I said, if he can defeat this, because I understood what his position would be. And I said, if he could defeat my argument, I'd be a Moor. I'm talking about a card-carrying Fez win Moor. That's how strong I am with this black thing. Like, there is no extra freedom or extra justice as a result of being a Moor. This is only in Moor scientists' mind. It's no difference than a Christian. A Christian believes if you don't accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, if you don't confess with your tongue and believe in your heart that he died on the cross at Calvary for you, you're not going to heaven. You're going to die. And this is the same belief system. If you don't proclaim your nationality, and you don't receive nothing different from the rest of us, the rest of the 30 to 40 million of us, there's nothing different other than you wear fez.
That's not true. I'm sorry. I'm talking about that.
Yes, this question is for Brother Edward X.
Yep.
And my question actually goes back to the word black, because you've acknowledged that black is from the bastard language, which is as far back as Old English, as well as many of us have acknowledged that black is also English. So how then is Kemet or any of our ancient civilizations able to refer to us as black people if the language is modern?
Speak on it.
It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how we don't do the same thing when we talk about ancient terms that fit us, that we like. We don't use that same type of logic. We don't use that same logic with the European term Moors. He said it's not a European term, but it's rooted in Greek. Can I stand up and talk to y'all for a second? Because I think that in my humility, I don't want my strength in linguistics to get lost. I don't want my trying to be humble and be a student to make you feel that we're on the same par with this. On this subject, I'm not coming to talk, I'm coming to teach. And I'm not saying that as an arrogant posture. I'm saying that because this is something that I have devoted my life to. Are we really Moors? Are we really black? This is a serious and critical question. So I didn't just, because I'm in a nation and I'm brainwashed and I'm black and anything that says otherwise I reject it. That's y'all. That's not me. The primary source text, which everybody is afraid to address, says we're black. So Kemet don't mean land of the blacks? See, on one hand, we said we want our African-centered scholars to teach us our true history, right? So what Dr. Ben says is Kemet means land of the black. John Henry Clark says Kemet means land of the black. Dr. Jacob Carruthers says Kemet means land of the black. Dr. Leonard Jeffrey said Kemet, then we're going to take the grand, she said Kemet don't mean land of the black. And then we on some religiosity. We arguing religiosity. We're not arguing linguistics. We're not arguing facts. We arguing religion. And everything we standing on is religious in nature.
But you're using a word black that didn't come into existence until way after. You can't be on both. If it's Middle English, if it's Old High German, you're using this word that came into existence between 1100 and 1500, and now you're taking this word and trying to define something that's thousands of years old. How does that work?
Can I address that going back and forth? Because ain't nobody keeping order.
I'm sorry.
Ain't nobody keeping order, so I got to address that. Ain't nobody I got to address that.
Do that.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
I'm not going to address it. You got it.
No, man.
No, I'm not going to address it because we not being honest. We being dogmatic. Like Kemet really means land of the black. What does it mean? If it don't mean land of the black, what do it mean? The land of the Moors.
Brother. My question is for Brother Tub. You were speaking about how the science and the separation of the science and the dogma. With us reclaiming the land or reclaiming who we are as royalty or heirs, how does what is applying to me, and something what this brother was talking about as well, is the science and the laws of things. To me, that's synonymous. To know the science is to know the law.
Yeah, because all things are governed by law.
So if black is a bastard language, and which would remove us from our heritage, like saying, you know, anytime we use any of these words, they're like trigger words that take us away from our.
Yes, it's designed to achieve. So this is what you want to look up. Look up the word escheat.
Escheat?
Yeah, and consider this, that in law, status and estate are equals. Look at the Dred Scott case being the most important servitude, or what you call slave case, ever to come before the Supreme Courts of the United States. And understand when you're dealing, and this is why you have the Dungy case, which was 5 years before. So if you're studying the Dred Scott case, which is used by people around the world, not just here, dealing with the capacities and incapacities of people, particularly of African descent, you know, dealing with these pejorative terms. And status or plaintiff in error is the docket case. People are caught up in thinking that human beings are crayons, keep talking about, they got this kind of psyche thing about skin color when it's status. And then they think that's religion. And no one's even saying religion, no one's even talking religion. They keep saying it's religion, but it's because they don't understand bloodline, they don't understand status in the state, how things operate. As an example, universally on the planet Earth, when you're dealing with nation states and you're dealing with the economies or the estates of beings, you're talking the rule, the sovereign rule around the world to preserve the nation state is called nationalization. When Hitler, you know, people talk about Hitler from one angle perspective, but you notice that they don't talk about that he nationalized Germany. With some people who claim to be somebody they're not, and was stealing all the resources. They stay away from that, don't they?
That's right.
When you talk about Chavez in Venezuela, who they murdered, the Bush family, etc. You talk about nationalization. When you're talking about Vicente Fox, when they introduced Clinton at the United Nations and talk about the American president, and he says, I object.
Objection.
America's got private corporations. He's the president of the American corporation, not American state. He made the distinction, but you already know most of our people think America's a country. You know what I mean? That Europeans own. And they'll even credit the European as being American or white man when the rest of the world knows that those are statuses. And so you have like what you're experiencing here, the complexity of people keep talking about religion and we're not even talking religion. You know, we're talking jurisprudence and a state, because that's what is the issue.
Islam.
You know, the very branding of black, Negro, color is not anything wrong with these words, is that they're brands to remove people from their right of a state. And they want to avoid arguing that because a lot of organizations have made their livings off the poor people claiming blackness. You know, so there's an economic self-serving paradigm in this, and there's an avoidance of dealing with the issue of status in the state because a lot of people are guilty with it. Meaning that if someone says, I'm, as an example, Kemetan, why doesn't their nationality card say Kemetan? You know, if they're Egyptian, well, why doesn't their nationality card say Egyptian? You know, the people of the land don't claim that. They be claiming, you know, their pedigree, and most of them in the native tongue. And most of the names that are given aren't even applicable to the people, if you get the point. Furthermore, Moor is not a European term, nor a European name. It's not a European origin, and they keep lying about that. But we don't need to argue with people. Once you start doing etymological research, which is the question that was asked on the floor, which was never answered. So if I say, if I tell you I'm a carpenter, and you ask me about a hole saw, and I say, well, explain that to me. What do you mean a hole saw? You say carpenter? So if you're talking linguistics, you're talking basic etymology. So if you talk about word labels, if you say what word label is black, you say Middle English. Child knows that. You wouldn't ask for an explanation. You know, if you say that you're a cook, and they say, well, you know anything about yeast? Well, explain that. You know, you know, certain things are taken for granted. And what I see that that is violated. And then you start talking religion when no one's bringing religion up. You know, it's like, you know, this is why we're talking. You know, so people need to know the difference between terms and pedigrees, and they keep mixing them. And I see a lot of misunderstanding of the Moorish movement by keep calling the nationality a religious belief, and it's not a belief, it has nothing to do with belief at all. You know, but yet people keep saying it, you know. And so, again, this is why the Pope, when you see Pope Francis even doing that letter to Obama, you know, to resolve some of these issues. When the Special Committee of 24 in 1960 for decolonization addressed this very issue. Rahm Emanuel addressed this issue with our people being Moors when the so-called black leaders of Chicago keep on playing this black game. So it'll take a Jew to tell these people their real history, backing up everything Drew Ali said. And then these people will admit that Drew Ali is first to reestablish Islam, but it ain't new. For those of you who are scholars, you already know that Matawaca was Muslim, you know, and they rewrite her as Pocahontas. Even when the Europeans, you know, put her picture up in the hall of the Senate, you know, they read Islamic poems. Islam's been here for thousands of years, before Prophet Muhammad was on the scene. You know, so our people's concepts about what all of this is totally incorrect. However, because of a lot of our organizations and leader guys have made their finances off the people pumping this black thing, it's sensitive, you know, because it's a brand. It's nothing wrong with the word. It is the misclassification which is the issue. And anyone who has, you know, what you call impropriate persona status, so since we're talking jurisprudence, that is legal standing. So if one is not impropriate persona, then the barristers who really run the corporation have jurisdiction, or what you call leading. You know, so when you're talking law and history, that is a common theme around the world. It's no different anywhere else. What makes us think we're different? You know, this is why when Drew Ali did the divine warning to the nations, the first issues he talked about is different nation states answering up the constitutional principles where we have failed.
Brother, we're running out of time. So sorry to cut you short. We gotta keep it moving.
It's long. My question to Brother Edwards, the reference that he made twice about slavery, and then he went down to the history of, you know, the battles that was fought and everything. I have a question for us, like, between, are we descendants from slavery or POW, or we descendants from POW?
Are we descendants of slaves? Well, we're descendants
from POW.
Well, I mean, this is semantics. This is semantics, because if the POW got a slave name, and how do we know he got a slave name? Because you got a Bay or Hill on the back of it. Yeah, it wasn't no indigenous Johnson, Smith, Culpeper, O'Reilly, Underbrook. It wasn't no indigenous names like that. So how do we know slavery existed? If you got a Bay or Hill on a slave name, that's what it means. Your ancestors were on a slave plantation. Drew, there wasn't no Druze in Africa. Okay.
Slaves are people that didn't fight.
Whether you call it POW or
You
slave,
ain't got no mic, man. We gotta move on.
whether you call it POW or slave, it's semantics to me. If you say they wasn't slaves, they was POWs, I'm cool with that. If you say they wasn't POWs, they were slaves, I'm cool with that. But it actually existed.
Next question.
For both of y'all. I want to know what language did the Moors speak in Morocco? I've been to Morocco. I've been to Casablanca. I lived there, and I never. When you go to Morocco, either you're black or you're white. So I want to know what language did the Moors speak? If we using a Greek term to define the Moors, what language did the Moors speak? I want to know that. Can somebody answer that?
He's got 7 languages, he's telling you.
Well, you know, in history, one thing about the Moors, when it's convenient, they'll use a part of history and associate the Moors with that too. Like when you talk about Hannibal Barca.
Hold on for 1 second. Stand up, brother. Him and I have been the same place. Stand up for a minute. What language do they speak?
Arabic.
That answers the question.
He said Arabic.
You from Morocco. I lived it.
Can I say something? When we talk about nationality, I was kind of soft on it because I do love Noble Drew Ali, and I do refer to him as a prophet, even though I'm in the Nation of Islam, and I believe that Prophet Muhammad of Arabia was born 1,400 years ago. I believe he's the seal of the prophets. But in the context of our history, I understand the terminology of prophet, and so I do, when I use his name, I say Prophet Noble Drew Ali. But when you talk about nationality, if we're going to use the Eurocentric paradigm as he has been doing since 7 o'clock, our nationality is American. That's your nationality. We talking about international law. Let me stand up again, because I'm a certified paralegal too. When you talk about American jurisprudence, on your passport it says American. If you're from Mexico, you are a Mexican. If you're from Cambodia, you're a Cambodian. So if you live in America, your nationality is American. And I bet if they catch you in Iraq somewhere, you say, I'm American, I'm American. You can say, I'm a Moorish American. You can say, I'm an American. And you're going to want all of the benefits that come with being a citizen of America. See, one of the things that our community don't know the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality. And so, because I'm soft on the Noble Drew Ali piece, because I embrace them, I don't attack the Moorish nationality piece. But that's not true either. No people walk around calling, the Chinese don't say they're Chinese Americans.
What American nation?
They Americans.
What American nation? What American nation?
The United States of America. Ain't no American nation. It ain't no such thing as an American nation. The United States of America. All nations have votes in the United Nations. What nation in the United Nations called American nation? None.
I got a question. Just to your point, real quick. America is a continent. United States is a British colony. China's not a continent. That's all. But I'm reading from congressional record certified documents.
North America is a continent, not America. South America is a continent, not America.
It's a one big landmass.
Hold on.
So I got a question. I got to qualify. So I'm reading from congressional record certified from the Library of Congress. This is Citizenship of the United States Exfiltration, 1906. This section is called Constitutionality. The question of constitutionality of the extraterritorial jurisdiction exercised by the United States has been raised a number of times, but may now be thought to be permanently at rest. That the framers of the Constitution entertain no doubt as to the constitutionality of this jurisdiction would appear from the fact that 2 treaties conferring extraterritorial rights upon the United States were concluded almost simultaneously with the adoption of the Constitution, namely the treaty with Morocco in January 1787. So I want to say 2 things to that. Number one, the United States, its Constitution derived from the treaty. So anytime we talking about Moorish rights or Moorish laws, it's not deriving from the United States or in 1913 with Noble Drew Ali. We're talking, again, international law, like you said. The second thing was that the treaty with the Peace and Treaties of Morocco was 1787. The Kingdom of Morocco was founded in 1956. So you're talking two different jurisdictions. And something that's not fair to you, I'm going to qualify my question, is that you may not be aware because you had a stance earlier that no Moors have had any kind of remedy by enforcing the Constitution. So just to be fair to you, please, if you are a declared Moor in this room, if you have any remedy enforcing the Constitution, please stand up. Right?
We'll do 2 minutes. 2 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
I can't speak for everybody. Granted, y'all in occupation. Everybody has their trials and tribulations, but when you have faith in your Creator, you do have your success. Me personally, I don't pay taxes to a colonial institution. Right. So my question to you is, how are you teaching Black people to enforce the Constitution for their remedy against the United States?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I don't want to misquote you. how am I teaching my people about the Constitution?
To enforce the Constitution.
I don't give a damn about the Constitution. That ain't my job to enforce the Constitution. My job is to wake you up. Black people spend $1.1 trillion annually. If we were just unified, we can build up, we would end unemployment among ourselves. We would end the youngins out there killing one another. If we would set up schools, set up our own schools, set up our own banks, set up buy our own farmland where we can clothe ourselves, feed ourselves, do for ourselves. And then once we do that, then we organize Mook, Red, and Little Man, because they already got guns and they're crazy. That's our army. Them vice lords, them GDs, them L. Rookins. That's our army. That's the standing army of our independence. We organize them. And that's how we get free. See, we don't have to go to white folks to get free. You got in your mind that the boss got to let you go.
Right here, bro. No. We got to go.
Question for Brother Edward. You said, where is the L Nation and the Bay Nation? And my question to you is, why did Malcolm X change his name to L. Haji, L. Malik, Shabazz, and why did Abdul Muhammad started to claim himself to be a Moor before they was assassinated?
Question. We got one more question after
You gotta handle this one.
Well, El Hajj means the pilgrim. So after making his pilgrimage to Mecca, anyone that goes to Mecca becomes El Hajj. That's a title that's added on your name as a result of going to Mecca. Anybody that's been to Mecca is El Hajj. And Malik Shabazz, oh, I'm glad that I get the opportunity to stand up again. That's a name that Malcolm didn't choose for himself. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave him that name. Just like it was a guy named Louis X, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad named him Louis Farrakhan. Minister Malcolm was named Malcolm Shabazz. It was on his passport while he was still in the nation. Know your history. And Khalid Muhammad. Everybody in the nation say they're Moor. It's just that we don't interact and don't really know each other. I'm a Moor. So that ain't why they call it Muhammad call himself a Moor. Everybody in the nation say they Moors.
Question for
Final question.
Final question. In July 1995, at Columbus, Ohio, Louis Farrakhan said to over 10,000 people in the audience that black is used for inanimate objects. Inanimate objects. Negro Shabato, black shoe. When you talk about human beings, use another name. What ain't those? Why did Farrakhan make that statement?
You want to ask me to create a straw man argument? I didn't hear him say that. You want me to address some ghost facts?
Islam.
I'm gonna be so strong on this one. If you show me that, I'm gonna join the Moors. Yeah. But don't twist it. Don't interpret it. Don't interpret it. I know you jumping out there.
It's out there.
I'm the wrong guy.
But hey, look, one thing I want to say. This was a well. I like this, and I hope you got people out there that's seeing this on social media, and they'll be able to pick through and see what was talked about through the whole lecture. They're gonna see what was talked about, and it stayed on one side of a lecture when things was taught. But I want to say this, man, that just like in the Bible, it say, when I was a child, I thought as a child. I did things as a child, but when I became an adult, I put childish things away. Man, we got to stop believing in people that never existed. I've been Muslim for like 25 years, and I speak Arabic too. But one thing that got me out of that deen is, man, none of them people existed. Prophet Muhammad didn't exist, Adam and Eve didn't exist, and we keep talking about these people that never existed. They never existed, man. Straight up. So we got to get off of that. And I heard, people talk about Prophet Muhammad. but he never existed. So here it is, man, we still living a big lie every day.
Can I respond to that?
No, man, we got. Huh?
Peace and blessings, everybody. How y'all doing? I took a long flight here, man, to support Brother Taj, and I was tired. A 6-hour flight and 3 hours riding here in the car, literally. And I'm actually leaving for another 6-hour flight overseas on Thursday. I'm going to, I'll be in Spain, from Spain to Morocco for like about 2 weeks, and from Morocco I'll be in London. So when I hear people speak about the Moors, I just got back from Spain and Portugal in August. There's a lot of things that I would love to address to y'all, man, because I heard the brother, and I'm looking for the believers, number one. If you're in the nation, because I am in the Nation of Islam also, I know, don't get it twisted, because the Nation of Islam only means Nation of Peace. And my brother is from Elijah Farrakhan to Brother Mustafa, the Supreme Captain of the Nation of Islam, which I'm in Savior's Day every year, and anybody who follows me know I'm at Savior's Day. There are things that they share with me that most brothers in the nation don't even know. So when people say that the minister, when he talked about Negro Cebato, I sat with the minister's sons. I sat there and they told me why he can't say it. Because when you have a group of people that you've been telling something for so long, what do you think that would do if you told them who they really are right now? It'll be turncoats. It'll be everybody trying to turn on you. I just left California, where I live at. And he was talking about what we need to do as our people. Nipsey Hussle did it. This brother right here, I met this brother on many occasions. I was there that day he got killed. He took a moth and hired our people. Our people. He never left the hood, but when you're doing something for your people, it's the ones that look like you and I you have to watch out for.
How can you give commentary?
So it's a whole lot that's happening, people, even with Brother Taj, and this is why I said I will come here and support, because I've been rolling with Taj for 20 years and Brother Abdullah for 20 years. But I see things different. As you travel, you see things differently.
Okay, we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah, we
gotta wrap it up.
Yeah.
But
hey, I want to thank everybody for coming. Yeah. Give Islam to both of the brothers right here.
Yeah.
Love it.
Biased, but I love it.
No, man, we ain't trying to be biased.
Everybody, that's what everybody all the more.
You got it, man.